Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fight Night Rising. My name is Khroen, along here with Boopasaurus to give you all of the TFT action that your Thursdays require. Boop, I am not even gonna ask because we all know it is. No, actually, we don't know. We don't know anything. Boop, take it away.
I'm here joined by St. Patrick to help us here, lead us to a great fight night. I'm excited to be back too. We just had the Challenger Series, an epic weekend last week. We have one of those representatives here playing again, and I'm sure we're going to get to it. But happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody!
Happy St. Patrick's Day, indeed. Boop is very festive. I'm gonna feel more and more festive by proxy, I assume, over the course of this evening.
Festive by proxy.
Yes, that's a thing, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know. Either way, we got 16 wonderful players looking to compete in this week's Fight Night Rising, split into 2 lobbies, of course, and it will be narrowed down to 1 lobby a bit later. But for now, in Lobby A, we have Andros TFT, Connor is me, Hypnoticus, Kandrew, Mercurial, Hivo, Valkyrion, and Wizard TFT. But Boop, how about Lobby B?
We have Firestorm, Haru Kawamaki, Hyperspace, Lumai Kev. Next, the Tally-Tubby, Goofy, and Yippee Malkaye.
And there we have it. It's fine. It's always Lobby B, Boop. It's always...
I know. It's like you've done it on purpose.
I know. One of these days it'll be Lobby A. But anyway, these players all competing for their share of the Rising prize pool. That's right. We have $150 going to our first place player. Second place, 75. Third place gets 50. Fourth place gets 25. Boop. We had a really crazy week last week where 3 players tied with 46 points, and we didn't know what was going on there for a second. We're like, oh, are these scores right? We gotta make sure, our admins, of course, doing their due diligence, doing their jobs. We were just a little, surprised because that was a first time that's ever happened, Boop. I hope we can get some similar kind of excitement this week.
Yeah, it was ridiculous how close the lobbies were last week. Couldn't have gotten any closer. We had to go down to average placement amongst 3 people to decide who won. And I believe it was Yippee Malkaye who was taking the dub, who, went into the weekend with a little bit of hype. Unfortunately, didn't quite qualify through the qualifier, but we're back here. We could win even more money after today regardless. So, you can call that a win.
Exactly, you can. Winning Fight Night Rising, still being able to farm that, 1 plus 150 every week still feels good. And just know, you're able to compete with the best of TFT players, so it is really, really solid performance still. But there's going to be 16 or 15 other players vying for that number 1 spot, Boop. I think this meta has certainly shaped up. You've seen a lot of trends, especially coming out of the Challenger Series, but the meta is still evolving, is still changing, Boop. What do you expect to see here for tonight's competition?
I think we're going to see a little bit of Warwick. I think we're going to see some of that build. It was incredibly successful over the weekend. I mean, usually that's not something that you see win lobbies, but I think it won like 4 over the weekend.
Was it really
which is
4?
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 lobbies. DPay I think did it twice. New Battle being one of them as well. So I wonder if there's even more refinement going on with that particular comp, because it was pretty successful. The other things that actually didn't quite become successful were Ari until we had Synaptic Web on her. So definitely curious to see if the AP direction for some of our players is going to be heavier than what we saw this weekend, as things like Draven definitely showed up, where Ari when she won the lobby, it was with Synaptic Web. But other than that, 0% lobby wins with that unit. So I wonder if that's going to be the case here, because we might have a hotshot Ari player that likes building Giant Slayer and Rabadons and might be able to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it seems the trend, if you are the sole AP player in a lobby, yeah, you might be able to find success with it. And with some niche scenarios like you're talking about with that Synaptic Web Ari, usually, if you are going, I think the AP route, it is a lot easier to pilot it with a Malzahar carry, with some mutants. Those are going to be super, super strong if you get a good direction for it, get some AP items. But there still can be some reliance on those late game carries. I think Victor, of course, being one that is still being used to some success. Let's go ahead and get on into game number 1, Boop, on board with Andros TFT.
I remember Andros having a pretty slick hoodie the last time he was here, if I remember correctly, but less about the fashion and more about what's on the convergence. We are starting off with the giant spell. I like starting off with health. Actually, we're going to be starting off with that crit glove. Starting off with health is just one of those stats that's very valuable in the early game that can help transition into enabling stats with things like the stone plate a little later on. But we are going to be pushing innovators potentially to start. And the thing with innovators is you can move in and out of it really in a multitude of ways, and the Warwick is one of those ways, because you can pick up the Twitch too and still kind of keep the entire package together.
Definitely, and as you mentioned, I think there was the little first thing you mentioned is Warwick, and hey, look at this, we already have 2 Warwicks here. This is almost like, who is it, Noob Owl, who got, what's it, 2 Warwick 2s?
2 tier 2 Warwicks off of Take 2, or that augment is. If Chemtech Unity Featherweights is great, interesting that it's not Featherweights, that's not going to be a very large Twitch start, but we're going to put the Warwick in anyway. I probably would have gone Featherweights there and committed, to be honest with you, but we don't have any bows, and that can be scary with the Warwick.
Yeah, I think having that Rage Blade and the Titans need 2 bows for that. The glove is still very good, right? You're going to be making Quicksilver on Warwick every day of the week. Having Warwick too, I mean, this is just such a good opener. It's likely that this can streak throughout all of Stage 2. Even with no featherweights, right? I still think this board's gonna be really, really scary.
Yeah, I mean, a itemized Warwick 1 can do some damage in the early game. It's just there's not a lot that they can keep up against it with Warwick's self-sufficiency in the early game. And then you add even more stats with things like the Titans and the Quicksilver, so you can get those things stacked. You're feeling pretty good about it, as we have a potential Innovator opening or a Warwick opening. We don't know quite yet, and Andrew's going to keep that probably pretty flexible until at least the next PvE round.
Yeah. This is really interesting considering that the choice of Chemtech Unity here. Sure, it gives a Warwick, which is a huge power spike because I made the Warwick 2, and all units are going to benefit from that Chemtech trait, but there's only one non-Chemtech unit on the board, and it was a Camille, giving Challenger to that Warwick. Andros scouting at the other board, seeing who is scary right now, because with this kind of a board, Andros wants to win streak. Cannot slam any items though, and that is a pretty big deal, right? Not willing to slam those Thieves' Gloves. Really limits your direction if those are the only 2 items you have at the start is glove.
Or you can just really risk it and just put that Thieves' Gloves on that wolf. But that's definitely not going to be the case, especially since the Crit Glove can move into a couple really great items. Of course, the IE Last Whisper combo, the IE Jeweled Gauntlet combo. That Warwick, though, you do need one of those Crit Gloves for that QSS, so they're potentially going that direction, as we have another pretty common opening. If you're able to high roll that 3-cost Yordle right there, Gnar, to get just a bunch of synergies for the early game. This could still technically lose with some higher damaged units, like the Warwick might have a good time against this, but other than that, it should at least take down a couple units if we do fall, but we're probably going to win against the majority of team comps.
Yeah, even against this, I think, there is all upgraded units on the other side, but there is a lot of tankiness given the bruisers. That Gnar, as soon as he transforms, is going to be outputting a lot of damage. There's tankiness with a Swain as well, healing back up. There's just a lot in this board, right, from Wizard. And they're even tankier because of that makeshift armor, right? No components are on anything. So all of the units are going to be getting that armor and MR. Really, really hard to take any of them down, which is why we see Biba, losing 4-0 there.
And that's why I mentioned the high damage, right? That can lose against an itemized AD carry of some sort, but not really against anything else. But we are lacking some good items here. I believe the mutant trait is Void, so if we do move into that direction, that's how we might benefit from it. But this is looking potentially like an Irelia, especially if the Ziggs is still on the bench here for Wizard.
Yeah, a lot of potential, I think, in terms of the direction that we can go here. Nothing locked in by any means, even makeshift armor. The augment is very general as well. Oh, a lot of different directions. Kind of depends. Not great items to slam right now. You don't really want to slam Hodge. Redemption is okay, however. It just, not quite valuable enough. Nocturne in the back, doing a big job there, trying to take out the Gnar before he transforms. He does get it off anyway, but there's just an even better Gnar on the other side, and that's level 5 board there. It looks like from Hypnoticus, really, really trying to punish the rest of the lobby.
So what Hypnoticus is doing here is separating who's going to be able to win streak into Krugs. So Wizard's going to be unable to do that. And we did do a little bit of investment to make that happen, as some of our players are going to be hitting level 5 here at 2-5. And Hypnoticus is going to be taking that win streak into this carousel round. And with that kind of investment, I hope that Hypnoticus is able to take it to the PvE round, because if we lose before Krugs, that's going to be a lot of investment for not a lot of return, as you invest that early to gain that money back as quickly as possible, as it's Connor is me now, 92 HP.
Arcanist, so this is at least our one Arcanist player in the lobby. Got that Arcanist crest, put on the Blitzcrank. He's been doing a lot of damage here in the early game. But blue buff Brand is a fantastic early game carry. Could pivot on into a Malzahar or an Ari later, as we were kind of talking about before. Your options when you do go to that AP tree. Gnar could find his way in right now, and yeah, that's going to be some decent utilization out of that Socialite Hex. Brand is going to be okay positioned there. Not as ideal, but not too upset about that one. Andros, however, got to work with the Cloak. Interesting, is playing both of them.
And you're not seeing double. That's just how we were meant to play. Andros now needing that Singe to get some good CC off. Unfortunately for Connor, Blitzcrank's not going to get sustained damage off, and if he doesn't burst someone down immediately with that initial hook, with that kind of extra power, you're going to be behind for the rest of the fight, and that's what we see here for Connor. Not really many people are going to be falling to that, going to be beating that Warwick outside of maybe Hypnoticus, but Hypnoticus also has some history here at Fight Night, has notoriously opened up very, very well and then fallen to the end, the 7th or 8th place spot by the end of a lobby. It's the sustain that Hypnoticus needs to be able to perform better on throughout the rest of today, and I'm excited to see if that's going to happen, because we're on our first kind of test right now. Is it going to transfer over to top 4?
Hopefully, right? I think that's something that we bring up a lot of the time. It's players who open up with win streaks. It's very noticeable when you do that, and then you fall a bit short, right? And I think having more opportunity to practice those situations, right, is going to make you a lot better at it. You can recognize your outs a lot more. You feel more comfortable with the meta every time. And if these are things that have happened recently, right, there's a lot more likely that Hypnoticus can translate these into a top 4, at least finish. But depending on how long they streak for, right, you're going to be expecting even more than just a 4th place. You're going to be expecting that to be at least maybe a 2nd, depending on, who high rolls, who gets, their mercenary cash outs or whatnot, see if you can even secure that first. No fight for a win streak preservation here, but fight for a loss streak preservation for Connor is me.
I think the Swain... Oh, that was close. The ult went off and didn't register. Oh, man, that is losing it by as little as...
What? What's up?
Do you know the story here? I don't know the story here.
Of Peeba and Peebo?
Yeah, of Peebo.
I'm not personally sure. I haven't kept up with the Peebo lore.
Okay, so. Well, that man has a razor streak in the middle of his head that I don't think goes the whole way. So
I'm noticing that. Yeah.
Peebo versus Peeba. Wow. How are we gonna ever get past this? All right, 68 HP. That hair, my goodness gracious, Khroen, you gotta take over for me.
I know it's the Boop thing to do. You just stare.
It's off center.
Let's see if his play is going to be a bit more centered than his haircut here, as he's going for a bit of a reroll comp, going for that Twitch evaders. Rerolling Singe, Twitch, Ezreal, that Ziggs is just going to be an item carrier right now with this Morello's Junkyard. So farming components. Already has a lot of components at this point. What is that? 8 components? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, yeah, that's a ton at this point in the day. At this point in the game, rather.
Yeah, it means that we're gonna be lacking a little bit of them a little later. It's a little interesting that we have so many components, but 68 HP right now, because usually item components transition into power, but we're not running anything that amazing right now because we are only running those scraps. As it looks like our friend on the other side is going to be doing the Ash, but Hypnoticus now getting scouted out, it looks like. Connor Isme is going to fall. Good amount of scouting so far, as Mercurial is going to be hopefully making this comp a little bit stronger as we move into the mid game.
Ash 2 already. Redemption Slam as well. A couple of gloves. 3 gloves, actually, that Mercurial has to make something happen with. And yeah, 2 of them could be a TG, but it's also gloves for that IE Jewel Gauntlet, or sorry, that Last Whisper IE pairing. Or an IE Jewel Gauntlet if we have a crazy pivot, but don't think that's going to happen with the augment, of course, being back foot. Levels up to 6 is protecting the Ashe and the Quinn. Some good positioning. Oh, actually, the Caitlyn steps forward, and because the Blitzcrank wasn't forced, is now actually going to pull Ashe in. That's going to be a huge deal.
Oh, man. Next level plays, you don't even know it. It's your own fault, as Mercurial now might suffer just because of having a synergy, right? The Enforcer going to get the highest HP target at 2, and that was the Blitzcrank. And so the Blitzcrank is going to wait, and that will potentially pull your carry, and that is going to lose us that round, as Peebo at 46 HP and Mercurial at 56 is a Golden Gifts, Woodland Trinket, or Celestial Blessing. Celestial Blessing, always a good choice. Might not always be the best choice, but always a good choice.
It's Celestial Blessing probably every single time there. There's not really enough value that you can get out of the economy of Golden Gifts and Woodland Charm. I don't think I've seen anyone take that recently at all. Maybe need some buffs there, but a couple Nars on the bench now for Mercurial. Again, not really any item slams past just this redemption, but hopefully as we do move into stage 4, we'll get some solid direction here. Pivot into a nice 4-cost carry. We can make use out of a lot of 4-costs, right? Especially in that AD direction. Jhin, Draven, Irelia, even maybe a Sivir, even though she has fallen off, and some people are like, you know, Sivir is a fake unit. Might be inclined to agree, but there's still a lot of other great AD options.
I don't think Sivir, I think maybe we had 1 or 2 Sivir comps in the top 4. Is looking over at Valkyrie on 2 Nikos on the bench already, and no one really running mutants thus far. But we do have that Malzahar for Valkyrion, and that unit was a beast over the weekend, as Lucian passing the friendship test there, taking over the Caitlyn ult, no problem. Still might end up being the same result, but you know what? At least Lucian knows that you know, he's a good guy. You know, he's gonna eat that Caitlyn ult just like you should in the League of Legends game, right?
Exactly, protecting the president there, dashing forward.
I'll never forget playing an ARAM Khroen, and Caitlyn ulted me, and it was more like Moses spreading the river instead of people helping me, and they all just let me die. And I don't know why to this day. They were my friends.
I think because they're your friends, maybe they think you'd understand. Maybe, you know,
they failed the friendship
for
test.
redemption. Yeah, unfortunate there. But it was a very interesting board with that Malzahar. It had, I believe, a Triforce being the augment there, so it's going to be buffing up their 3-cost champions with 2 Nikos helps on the bench. That's pretty close to a Malzahar 3, actually, already, more than halfway there. So perhaps seeing that route, we're going to be knowing that multiple people are going that AP direction. Maybe some concentration is going to make it a bit harder. Iba. Roll it all the way down there. Kanju scouting out. Did hit the Camille 3, one away from Singe, but still far away from that Twitch. And Twitch is the focal point of that composition.
I wonder, so something that happened with Soju is someone else took the Twitch from that composition, and Soju actually switched it to like a little bit more Seraphine utility heavy a little bit later on. And that's one of the coolest things about the Innovator comp is you can play 2 different Innovators with 2 different carries, right? That's why it's called Flexivators. You can get that Irelia in there. You can even get the Kha'Zix in there if you want to get 5th place. So Kanger now at 67 HP, pretty close in that top 4, and Hypnoticus still the only one winning. So another really interesting statistic, not a single person made it past 4-2 with 100 HP during qualifiers, which is exactly where I would expect that to be the case almost every time. I feel like if I were to ask you to guess which round that would have been, you probably would have guessed that one. But we'll see if Hypnoticus is going to go past that and kind of show, hey, you know, I'm going to keep investing through stage 4 and see what happens after that.
Yep, Androsa started losing, but they still have more health due to Tiny Titans. Warwick now does have the Quicksilver. I think the other Warwick with a cloak maybe got sold. We can't really see if it's on the bench right now. But yeah, going that Warwick reroll direction, it is going to be winning this round out. It's just not a strong enough board from Kandrew, not enough burst damage output. The Warwick is going to keep sustaining, going to keep being very, very healthy at this point in the game. Now, Kandrew, we got to think about what this pivot is going to look like, right? There is already a Sivir on the board. But there's a Ludens and then Binary, right? The very general augments. You'd think of Ludens, you might think of AP comps, but it can still work with AD focus comps as well, especially this IE already being slammed. I don't know if this is going to be good enough of a pivot if you do lean into the Sivir from here.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult getting into the late game stages to really compete for that top 2. At least we have attack speed. If we want it, it would have been cool to get a Shiv, but I even like Giant Slayer over things like IE Last Whisper for Sivir myself, because it really just seems like you throw the IE on, a Bramble pops up, and Sivir is a dead unit. As the double striker comp is coming through. That's something that we expected, and now we can definitely put the Rage Blade on the Sivir and the IE. What the third item is going to be is the question. Actually, no, it's going to go on the Irelia. I like that a lot better.
Last Whisper, it still leaves open the potential Rage Blade, right, for the Sivir. I mean, making actually a Morello's on the Echo with it. It could have just been a belt on the Echo, make sure to get some scrap value, but Andrew was thinking a lot about what still needed to happen and not about what should have happened right there before the round. And with that, actually, it might be the difference of that fight. It could have been that scrap item, right? It was super, super close. Still has 30 gold left to roll with and probably should keep rolling to find Irelia 2. That is when that composition will stabilize if the rest of the board was okay. Just needs a carry online. Speaking of a carry, Valkyron has carry Malzahar, but love seeing this Gnar as well with the Rage Blade. He's still going to be doing a little bit of work there, trying to carry himself.
Gnar does a lot of damage through the mid game. We're starting to fall off damage-wise, and it's also an item that you normally don't see in a game. Not many melee carries using it outside of Talon right now to help. So really interested to see how much better it is with that extra space, especially after we transform into Mega Gnar. But all eyes are definitely on this Malzahar, especially with the Morellos. The extra damage over time, along with that ult with the fire, with the burn, is so good, and it's going to be able to tag most of the units on the board with the Morellos. If we're able to get there, as our Gnar without an item going to be frontlining a little bit better, thanks to our Lucian in the backline with the Rage Blade, Titans, and Large Rod on it.
Yeah, did a lot of damage there. Now Valkyron has to think about, what direction do I go? Can they reroll from this? I mean, they do have Triforce. Their composition is centered around 3 costs, right? Gnar, Senna, Malzahar, and Cho'Gath, and Vex as well. Needs to reroll. It just doesn't have a lot of gold to do that with. It's starting to feel the pressure. I think it's going to be really, really hard pressed to find 3 stars from this position.
I definitely agree with you, and that's the double-edged sword of the Triforce augment, which is you're spending an extra gold on these units that you don't normally re-roll, and each time you buy a unit, you're spending that extra gold along with rolling that extra gold, and that's going to add up because you're also going to need to level up. But we do have those 2 Nikos, so it's time to, I think, focus on 1 or 2 of these units now, like you said, and start re-rolling them. Obviously, it's going to be the Malzahar that we want to hit that Malzahar 3, but we are very far behind. We were ahead, round 2-5, where I think we had the same exact Malzahars. But if you do see the Triforce augment, Mutants is probably one of the best ways to go about it. If you want to play something not good, the other synergy with a lot of 3 costs are Mercenaries, but that would help things like Snipers, for example, with Misfortune being able to play a little bit of a damage role. So she can even sneak in here if there wasn't anyone who was tagging a Morellos, for example.
Exactly. There's Morellos on that board. There's Morellos on this board. Morellos everywhere. Such a popular item. A lot of great item carriers for it. Moving over to Kane, Drew, yeah, this is going to be level 8, so they didn't actually roll, and they won the last 2 rounds, so I suppose recognizing the strength of the lobby, not needing to aggressively go for this Irelia 2, did pick up an Irelia on the carousel with a rod, so it makes it easier to find one, or magnetic remover to just get that off, make sure that you can actually make the item that you want on who you want with it, and it's going to be that Rageblade Sivir as you talked about earlier, Boop. The unfortunate part is, even when you leveled to 8, there is no upgrades that came through. Still Sivir 1, still Irelia 1, and now a Vi 1 as well, and, 3 things being paired.
And so far, the Sivir might as well be throwing frisbees during this game, but it's going to actually end up working out here to start working through some of the front line, but that's only because we had a very similar composition through Hypnoticus, who has that Seraphine, who's going to help that attack speed even more. No Rageblade, though, on the Sivir for Hypnoticus, who, if you want to see, is dressed for the occasion today. The cosplay is real, as the lobby has started to tighten up, and this is the first prismatic augment I have seen competitively in 2 weeks, Khroen.
Oh, is there? No. Wow, that's unfortunate.
I actually think the players would probably say that they liked that.
Yeah, I mean, coming from the players, but what do the players know, right?
I was a little disappointed. As a viewer, I would have loved triple prismatics. Let's see some double chase traits on a board or something, right? But we're going to go with golden ticket, which means that we potentially can get a free reroll every time that we do roll, and sometimes you just hit, though. You don't need it.
Sometimes you just hit. Speaking of just hitting, Wizard just hits as well. Multiple carries, Gangplank 3, and a Lucian 3 as well. Looks like Valkyrion hit the Malzahar 3 at the same time, so these boards are really, really getting scary, Boop. Many of them power spiking, going to bully the rest of the lobby, but it's okay for Kanju, right? Kanju got stronger as well. This Irelia 2 is a big upgrade. Is going to actually dodge out in that Zephyr. Okay, the Vi takes it, so Irelia gonna be doing work here.
All right, and so Irelia's biggest weakness is CC. You cannot let the Irelia use those Blade Surges all over the board like she's doing just now, but Irelia is one of those units that can look like a wolf, but can also look like a puppy, doing nothing if the CC lands on her. She can literally just get CC'd and fall. I've seen it happen to Irelia 3s at this point in the game too, so definitely a really strong unit, but one of those units that can look invincible, but with just the right amount of CC, you're able to take her down. We have a little bit of a reroll frontline here. This was something that was really common. Soju ran this particular comp, I think, a couple times. That was the innovator direction, not necessarily the challenger direction for this, but we need some bows, and that's not a bow, unfortunately.
No, the items are...
Oh, there's
okay.
one! That's huge. At least there's something that we can put on the Warwick now.
Needs to hit the Warwick 3 as well. Actually has to hit this turn, or I mean, it might be doomed. For a bit of context as well, like, if Tiny Titans wasn't here, it would be 13 HP that Andros has, and would definitely be eliminated in the next stage or 2. Finding a lot of Quins. Needs one more Warwick, but also is trying to find so many things. Is one off of Warwick, one off of Quinn? I think there is an argument to sell the Tryndamere. I mean, I guess because Tiny Titans, right? There's 48 HP, so we got a little bit of time to work with. Shouldn't be too scared at this point. But Boop, we say this every single time we see a Warwick composition. It is solid in the mid game, but there is a point where it falls off and doesn't seem like it wins any boards. And it's not even winning these fights right now.
You have to get the Warwick 3. If you go Warwick and you never see the Warwick 3, I'm sorry, you're probably in the bottom 4. And Andros racing down the leaderboard right now. And here we go. We finally have a win condition, right? Andros didn't have a win condition on the board until just now. We still need another item for it. At this point, we kind of just get what we get for a third damage item for the carousel. We probably make it to Dragon through this, but I still think we need some more utility potentially on the Warwick. A Frozen Heart on the Tryndamere could be really nice too. I mean, this still has a long way to go. Unfortunately, we don't have that many components, right? We have like a binary airdrop type of team without the augment.
It's not that many really noticeable, impactful components, right? This Camille is going to be tanky. There is a lot of great utility out of the Shroud and the Zephyr, but again, Warwick, that's the unit that needs to be doing things, and not having 3 items on that Warwick makes this so rough. Can make it to the carousel, yes, but making it the dragon, I think if those rounds are gonna be similar to that one, definitely not gonna happen, right? Needs to position well and needs to get favorable matchups, because looking at all the other boards in this lobby, Boop, this is a very strong lobby, and that happens when we have things like double gold augments into a prismatic. The amount of power spiking that happens is insane, and it's accelerated as well. Looking at Wizards board right now, like, yeah, this is kind of insane. It is probably going to be beating a board like Andros's, 9 out of 10 times.
We are fully in the membrane right now. Khroen, insane in the membrane. Man, my age is showing, not just through those wrinkles. As Hypnoticus doing exactly what we had anticipated, actually, in the early game, which is starting to fall down the leaderboard, but has enough attrition been made for Hypnoticus to make it into the top 4? Seeing Mercurial and honestly, comps like Andros starting to fall off. I think we might be there as Hypnoticus does win out, but this lobby has all of a sudden had a ton of separation at the beginning, but now is very close amongst the final 7 as Andros, who was at 100 HP for a very long time, now at 3, even with Tiny Titan. So this is an extra 4 or 5 rounds at this point because of that augment, especially if you're able to get it second or third. The value of it just gets so high. But right now, there's a Malzahar 3 board. There is a twin shot board with 2 tier 3 twin shots. There's so much power, like you said here. You can't just run a regular like innovator board or a regular Warwick because that's going to lose you the lobby, and that's exactly what's happening to Andros right now.
Exactly. Connor is me, unfortunately, took the 8th here, and Andros kind of next on the chopping block. Unlikely they can stabilize, even with hitting like Tryndamere 3, right? Even with hitting Quinn 3, they have no items. They're probably not going to be strong enough. As we move over to Valkyrion, who did hit the mouse 3 a lot earlier, and now has Cho'Gath 3, looking for, wow, actually going to be pivoting out of this Gnar, maybe giving a bit more gold to potentially find this Vex 3. Senna as well, but we are a long way off of that. Sniper on the Malzahar, but he's 3rd road. Little awkward.
A little awkward, but at least we get something out of it, and you can't ask that every single time. As we have a Cho'Gath 3, it looks like the Cho'Gath is a lot tankier than it is, but that's just all effective health, no armor or anything on it, especially with twin shots. That's going to be broken down really quickly as Valkyrion, arguably with maybe the 2nd or 3rd best comp, actually falls based on this matchup because the comp that we went up against was brutal. Wizards comp is very strong right now. Peebo doing the reroll, and this is exactly why comps like Andros had such a hard time, is because this comp, where it's people, he's rubbing the spot in his head for power. Right, that's where it comes from, obviously, to climb up this leaderboard.
I wonder if it's like, that donation goal, shave head on stream. He got like part of the way there, so he did part of the shave already. He's gonna keep like every single time a donation comes through, he's just gonna shave another line.
Well, there's a certain charity that you shave your head for that is like a big thing on St. Patrick's Day. So I thought maybe that was like a thing, but no, I don't. You keep going after the one. Anyway, this is going to be a potential loss for Peebo because there's really not a lot of CC working against this Irelia, as that is going to be another very strong comp losing because we just get a bad matchup and we don't have enough HP, as it's going to be Kandrew, Hypnoticus, Mercurial, and Wizard finishing in the top 4.
There we go, a top 4 with a composition that features a couple Irelias, I think. Hypnoticus, I believe, has an Irelia too as well. I was talking a lot of praise about Irelia last week, but we didn't really see that in Fight Night that much. I saw it a little bit in the previous tournament this weekend, but now I'm really excited that we're actually getting to see Irelia do a lot of work here. Very good unit. Like you said earlier, right? The CC is how you deal with the Irelia. So how are players going to adjust to this? Especially given the fact that there's no Quicksilver, no Banshee's Claw, nothing like that to really protect this Irelia, at least from Mercurial.
And you can't perfectly guess where the Irelia is going to go, potentially on the front line, because the Socialite Hex is not in the front row. Sometimes you can kind of put your Tom Kench's or some other frontliner in front of the Irelia to keep her to keep her away from everyone else. But because it's in the third row, we're going to have to walk up. That could be a good or bad thing. It's actually probably going to be a good thing here, as the Lucian should be targeting this Irelia with those ultimates here in just a second. As yes, the Lucian is on the Irelia, and the Irelia is not gone just yet. You got to finish the job, Lucian. Unfortunately, and too much damage from Irelia, and that's going to be another win.
That is kind of crazy. I mean, taking out a strong board like that, like a Jace 2, and then the GP Illusion. Oh man, that's Seta winning by just a sliver of HP. Finds the Sivir upgrade naturally as well. She doesn't have any items, but still a nice thing to hit. The only unit not upgraded, right, is that Tahm Kench, but he's still going to be doing work, right? Still going to be doing Tahm Kench things, maybe not farming a lot of items, but still deleting a unit for, a few seconds in a fight. Still really, really good, especially the front line. And it allows the Irelia, right, to not get stuck on those pesky frontliners that might have things like, brambles, a lot of armor that she's going to, have a tough time to chew through.
And the Shroud only hitting the Sivir. That's actually not the worst thing here, but the Sivir is going to get to that ult eventually. Has the IE and just a tier, though, so you're seeing how long it's taken to get through that front line and just gets one shot herself. And that's like the bane of Sivir, right? She doesn't do enough damage herself and takes so much damage as well, as we actually have a couple Sivirs here in the final three. It seems like everyone just kind of pushed ahead tempo-wise, and the Irelias and Sivirs were able to stick around while the other kind of cannibalized themselves.
Yeah, that last fight for Mercurial was really just an enforcer diff there. Enforce the enemy Irelia, it looks like. And, as soon as Mercurial's Irelia got onto them first, you just Blade Surge, right? Irelia does damage so fast. So as soon as she gets that kill, gets that reset, dashed immediately to the Sivir with 3 items. And just explosive fights, right? That's what we talk about, having to deal with this Irelia. It's going to be the same matchup. See if it can happen the same way again.
Okay, here we go. So the fight will start, and we do have the Zeeks for the Sivir. That's actually very, very nice item. A lot of damage coming through as well as we switch gears. Is the Irelia going to be enough? The answer is no, but the rest of the team will be, as the Valiant Gnar is going to survive. And we do get a double kill here, as it's going to be Mercurial, as we have a quick transition over to the next lobby. As this one spending a little bit more time on the convergence. We still have 5 people remaining, but look how close. 10 HP separating every single person remaining in this lobby.
Yeah, this lobby's really, really crazy, right? The previous lobby, I believe lobby A, over a lot quicker than I expected, but I guess that happens when you get prismatic and gold augments, right? It makes everyone's power so high. Looking at Lumi Kev here, 5 mutant, 4 Arcanist, fully stacked Kha'Zix and Malzahar. Cannot push to find a Cho'Gath 3. Probably not a Malzahar 3 either. It does sell to get this upgrade going on. Oh, that's a Talon 3 jumping right into the Malzahar, though.
Ooh, that could be bad news. Talon 3 is so very strong. The Malzahar does fall, but it has enough damage been done. Talon going to be doing as much as he can against the Cho'Gath, and it wasn't enough. Bramblevest doing some work as we have a top 4.
That was crazy. I thought the Blitzcrank actually hooking the Malzahar after the first auto attack went through means that he was going to get CC'd and just bleed to death, but no, Silco really clutch there, gets the ultimate off on Malzahar, allows him to cast, and that was a big difference in that fight, right? Malzahar got like 3k damage off because of it, and that was just fight winning. Now finds a Vex upgrade. Board gets even stronger. If Hyperspace actually narrowly taking the loss, goes out in 5th. So we have our top 4 at least. Lumi Kev and Goofy probably safe for 2 lives. Not the same story, however, for Harukawa Maki and for Firestorm.
Firestorm and Harukawa Maki, the last time they were here, had different results. I believe Harukawa actually played pretty well. Firestorm, though, struggled a little bit, as the initial fight is going to tell us a story here. As it's going to be the Kha'Zix getting into the back line. They get through and away from the Seraphine, but that's not all you need. The rest of the team has got you covered, Kha'Zix, so that's going to be a really easy win. 1 HP, 5 HP, and 24. It really feels like Kev is in the driving seat right now.
Yep, have probably locked at least a second place here. Mutant emblem as well. That's gonna get denied by Goofy. Were they running mutants? I don't know.
We'll find out here in just a second. We got a Warmogs. So someone wanting some health, or maybe we just get a Galio 2 out of that, but it's going to be the Warmogs for the Cho'Gath. Yeah. The Hand of Justice is a little bit of a feels bad for not a little bit. It's definitely a feels bad. As Khroen, what'd you see?
Goofy had 7 mutants with that emblem, actually. So yes, there are multiple mutant players. Coming into today, Boop, we knew that mutants were a thing that players prioritized, and that's going to be a Mutant Victor 2. That's real scary.
So this is going to potentially be the final fight, depending on what the matchups are for the final 3. A lot of mutants on this particular board. We've got Kha'Zix's going both directions, but one has the Mastermind buff on it right now. He's going to blow up on his own. The Victor going to be ripping through a lot of that HP, but is it going to be enough? No. It's going to be the Cho'Gath. That Cho'Gath actually falls, so we do get another round here, as it's going to be Harukawa Maki and Lumi Kev in the final 2 here.
And I believe that was Harukawa beating Lumikev's ghost there in that fight. So if that has any weight in how that went, which obviously it does, we could be going to stage 7, Boop. Not something that we expected with everyone having such low HP. See if Lumikev can get some better fight RNG on that one, or kind of see the story of what happened and how some positioning differences could make a difference.
Right, so we do have the Silco going to be buffing up our Kha'Zix and our Ahri. The Ahri does not have any of those items. Kha'Zix is going to jump immediately into the back line. That's the problem with Kha'Zix, though. Sometimes he leaves the target before actually executing them, and the time it takes to hop is all it takes for the opposing team to get that damage on. But the damage is actually pretty similar going both ways. It is Cho'Gath versus Seraphine here. It could go either way. The Seraphine does get that ult off, but there's damage over time going on, and it's going to be Lumikev, or Lumikev. With the lobby win.
The fight being a bit closer than I expected it. Lumikev actually making it happen there. Took out the 7 mutant board and taking out that one as well. Gets the dub. Really crazy stuff. You don't usually see mutant boards win without having something like Malzahar 3, but you can still do it with Malz 2, right? If you have some good itemization. It was just, I don't know, everything worked out really well there.
Yeah, Malzahar, pretty consistent unit, right? You know that Malzahar is going to be able to take the 1v2s, the 1v3s potentially to help win at those rounds for you. And it is just really important to understand to respect the Malzahar at the end of the day, because even if it's not tier 3, tier 2 seem to be enough, and mutants have been performing very well just in general through ladder and competitive play.
I think we're going to see that be a consistent trend throughout the day, but let's go ahead and take a look at the scores in that first game. We watched most of Lobby A, saw how Mercurial piloted their way to a victory. Then we got to see a little bit of Lobby B there, Boop. But anything stand out to you from just these game 1 scores?
So the first lobby that we saw was a very good example of hitting a little too late for about 3 or 4 of our comps. So It was a very interesting thing that happened where a couple of those comps cannibalized each other because they had such little HP, where I do not believe even the top 2 comps in that lobby were the top 2 strongest comps at the time. I just think the 2 strongest comps ended up eliminating each other at one point. So, TFT, anything can happen. Sometimes that consistent Sivir is how you make it into the top 2.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a good point. See if these players can, maybe approach game number 2 a little bit differently, maybe get a little bit better RNG. But as we look at the overall scoreboard, you know where the players have to be after 3 games. It is on that left-hand side. They need to be top 8. And that is just overall, right? Doesn't have to be 4 from every lobby. It's not going to be just 4 from each lobby. It's going to just be the top 8 point earners moving into the finals. So already the pressure is on. You're not going to have that many games for redemption if you did start off in game number 1 a little bit poorly. The player is going to be taking a little bit to reset. Try to approach game number 2 better. We're going to take a few minutes to reset as well. We're going to go on a quick break, but after this, we'll be having game number 2. Welcome back, everybody, to Fight Night Rising. Game number 1 is over and done with. We still got a couple more games before we get into the finals. Boopasaurus, game number 1. Got to see the meta trends, got to see the Irelias, the Sivers making their way into those top placements. But same with the Mutants. I think those are the two standout compositions that we see right now. And actually a lot of focus on reroll as well, especially those 3 costs. Malzahar, again, is one of those 3 costs, but then we saw a reroll kind of twin shot board with the Lucian and the Gangplank as well. And I think those situations come through, right? Because you get offered things like these Triforce augments that can really just pivot the whole direction of your game. You got to be open for them, right? You got to be playing around those augments every single time you get offered some very interesting ones.
Yeah, pretty augment dependent meta. It's funny to say that because it feels like all metas are augment dependent, but these particular metas seem to be pushing and pulling with these augments pretty substantially. Particularly the mutants, I think, can be affected by augments a lot. Like the Triforce augment, so good for mutants because there's 2/3 costs in it, right? You've got Malzahar and Cho'Gath, so you have some direction, and it's already direction that you don't have to really adjust from because that's already a comp, right? You don't have to spend extra, brain cells thinking of something innovative, for example, because you've got a potential innovative play. But the other thing that we saw were, some good rerolls, but innovators too. We saw Twitch evaders a couple times. We saw 3 people, I think, try to go after Twitch evaders, and I think Peebo was the one that ended up getting it the most often. Ended up getting bot 4 because we only had like 11 HP once we hit all of our units. So it could really go any direction. It seems like in terms of skill level, we're pretty even through both lobbies. As when we transitioned into lobby B from lobby A, 5 players were all within 10 HP of each other.
Yeah, definitely a close lobby there. Didn't see the whole story of how that happened, right? Some players oftentimes, lead out really far ahead. Some players go really low early, and then it all balances out at end game, creating for some pretty exciting situations. But yeah, there was the trend of those reroll compositions, like you mentioned, the Twitch evaders, kind of getting punished right there, right? Not hitting or hitting a bit too late, getting punished by those other compositions like the Malzahars, like the Irelias, who did a really, really nice job, especially being paired with those gold and prismatic augments. So to see how players are going to approach game number 2 as we're going to get into that shortly. But I think there is a lot of expectations on the table right now from our top point earners in the last week, right? That's going to be Yippee Maokai, Wizard, Goofy, and Kanedrew, who were all within 1 point of each other. 3 of them actually had, tied points, as we mentioned a bit earlier. But with that level of closest to competition, really looking forward to how they're going to do. And let's get into game number 2, Boop.
Yippee Maokai, the only person who was playing in last weekend's qualifier. I like to say the last chance qualifier there in this particular lobby. So some high expectations. And Yippee Maokai was playing a very first or 8th style through Fight Night last week into the weekend, potentially through today, because we did start with an 8th place. As we're going to start with our lobby winner from last time around on this Ezreal with a sword. Great start. We get a second sword, and anytime you see 2 swords, you should think of Twitch, as Twitch is probably the best user of Deathblade if you don't have any other items to put on that Ezreal.
Yep, Deathblade, especially on the Twitch, right? You think about Twitch getting to tier 3 is going to get more value out of that than usual. See a lot of there's units on some boards, a couple Ziggs, a couple Ezreals, a couple Caitlyn's as well. This is a decent Twitch Evader opener. It could just be Ezreal reroll as well. Sometimes players will reroll these innovators and not go the Twitch direction, and I think that is fine. Unlikely to see a slam of a Shojin here, or a Deathblade actually, so these components are probably going to just not see any completion in this early game. Doing a bit of scouting out, right? Oh, we see one player going for Sniper's Nest. That is a slam on an IE there, on an Ashe in the corner. Lumikev was opera Sniper Nest as well. Probably not going to go that direction, though. It's probably going to be Disintegrator, I think, but what are you thinking, Boop?
I like Disintegrator just in general. It's percent health, but it's going to be a little bit of flashiness here with the Merc. Yeah, speaking of, because you have the Alawi. If you have like a Quinn, right, that might have been a lot easier to take, but you don't even know if you're going to get the Quinn at this point in time.
Didn't even know they were getting the Alawi. The Alawi was in the shop, right? They didn't see it yet. They had 0 Mercs and they clicked on that Merc cart. Absolutely crazy. Probably going to pre-level to 4 here to be able to get better chance at Merc odds. I would imagine. Yep, here we go. Do they hit? No. Don't hit.
Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. And that is the life of TFT,
And
right?
yeah, I'm not over that. So the play to pick Merc cards with 0 Mercs, especially when Lumikev comes into the day, gets a first place, and then says, you know what, I need to live life on the edge here. And I'm not going to play safe, not going to play for just, some consistent options, just some top fours, make sure I get into the finals. Nah, Lumikev is making it exciting at the very least, if nothing else. And hey, I guess I respect it, right? See how it works out.
Okay, so things are not far from getting pretty into the early game right now. Usually by 2-3 or tier 4, you kind of know who's going to be running those strong early games, who's going to be win streaking, and right now it's not going to be Lumikev, as that is going to be a Merc loss without all of the Mercs. Just yet, as Hyperspace Land, another familiar name, I believe, from other Fight Nights, going to be running snipers. We have Sniper's Nest, and Nubel did win an entire lobby with a Jin sniper comp last weekend, which I didn't think was going to be possible based on every other lobby that we saw. It was the only lobby where snipers, I believe, even top 2'd.
Really, that is interesting. I do think that Hyperspace's start here is really conducive to a sniper win, regardless if it is the direction of, maybe not a win, but a top 2, top 3, right? With having this Ash reroll as an opportunity, or the Jin pivot, right? I guess it depends on how many Ashes that you find, what the pacing of the lobby is looking like. But I really, really like this opener a lot here, and being able to kill a couple of units in the early game, even if you're not winning, right? This is 94 HP with a 2 loss. That's just a 1 unit and a 2 unit loss. This is super, super good opener, I think, for Hyperspace. Is making 10 gold. Has direction, right, with the items, has the IE on the Ash, finds another Ash as well, so we're already, close enough to, being able to make decisions like a full committal to this Ash reroll style.
Ash reroll, not dead. You have to kind of get the tempo to hit pretty quickly when it comes to this particular comp. The Ash is going to be straight AD damage, so anything that's going to help with that Ash in terms of attack speed or just raw damage is going to be very, very nice. Usually with the IE, you can add on the Rage Blade and the Last Whisper as well, but anything is going to be very, very useful for the Ash. She hits like a truck at tier 3 too, not only with just the auto attacks, but the ult is also going to decrease attack speed as well, keeping her even safer, unless she gets disarmed by a random Quinn in the back line. This still might not be as easy as it looks, as Caitlyn, a professional at stealing units out of rounds. This is going to be a 2-unit loss. Could have been a lot worse, as Hyperspace is going to move into the carousel round on a 3-loss streak, which is totally fine. We probably lose streak into PvE if we had our choice to.
Wow, this lobby HP is very telling, actually, that all the boards are very even, right? All the losses that have happened have been by either 1 or 2 units, because there is not a single player under 90 HP on Stage 2 Carousel, and I think that's honestly the first time I've ever seen that. Usually there is a player in the 80s, sometimes even a player in the 70s at this point, but this is very, very crazy that every single fight was just a 1 or 2 unit loss every single time for this, 3 rounds in this game.
Yeah, I think someone is usually at 100 HP, but it's usually 2 people coming into this carousel, like you said, as it's going to be the belt on the Warwick. We are one of the last to choose, so we probably just, had slim pickings there. And the belt can go into a couple of really good items, like a Morello's. In terms of like consolary items, you're happy to get a belt in that situation. As we move in, some Arcanus to try to get a little bit more damage in. Challengers, this board right now, 100 HP, is not going to stay that way at this power level, potentially like right here, right now, depending on where we go for our next matchup. And it's going to be an Edge of Night QSS Warwick for Goofy.
Not often do you see those items paired together, both being defensive options. But it is a Warwick too. It's going to give him as much power as possible. Has a Reforger as well on the bench, so can get rid of that a bit later on. You would hope with all the item slamming to maybe win some rounds, but I think it's okay. Goofy has 40 gold in the bank right now, as we see, on the right-hand side. Well, Firestorm barely had 10. Gets a zillion, so that is going to give Innovators finally Really wanted those online a bit earlier, but it's okay. Firestorm is still streaking. The rest of the lobby is probably no one in this lobby is very strong. I would say that's why the losses have only been one or two units. Everyone's kind of equally middling or weak of power level right now.
Yeah, it's everyone kind of still waiting for the first person to take a huge lead, because this comp from Firestorm is not a normal 100 HP comp at 2.6.
No, definitely not.
That you'll see. It's looking at the other side of the board, right? Very similar comp, but just not as quick to tier 2ing these units as Firestorm has been, as this is going to continue at 100 HP going into Krugs. And that, again, is pretty... I mean, not pretty. It is very good for a comp like this. So we have a lot of flexibility on where to go, because we've been able to increase our economy to 20 gold again, which honestly, with that kind of comp, would have been difficult to do with that much spending trying to get to those innovators.
That's crazy. You see a board like Firestorm's 100 HP into Krugs. You're like, is everyone else AFK? Like, what's happening? That's it's really crazy. Looking at Tally Tubby, the direction that they're going, it's just econ focused at this point in the game. And I mean, there's all the units that you want for a Twitch Invader reroll. I'm actually kind of surprised why people seem like they kind of hyper focus on this composition, right? It's not as good as it used to be. Sure, it's still fine, but if you're in this position with one Singed, one Ezreal, two Camille's, and three Twitch, even with the econ that Teletubby has, which is decent, I think this might be just a bit over Forest from this point.
So I feel like this is one of those comps that you see bottom, get a third, get a fourth, maybe even a fifth and a sixth, and then one person will win it, and everyone else will be like, "See, it is good." Yeah. Right? And what they don't know about it is that the Twitch comps that do win all have Twitch 3 at around this point in time, like right here. Right, so we could potentially get there. We actually have a lot of gold that we could get to Twitch 3, but we have to get it, because every round from here, I think we're losing value, as we're only 2 away. These rolls aren't the worst in the world, but as we take Twitches out of the pack, they're going to be harder to find, as we only rolled a 35 at level 4. I honestly probably would have committed just a tad harder, because this is the best opportunity to get Twitch and Ezreal and Warwick, right, to buff up some of our comp, but we're still 2 Twitches away, and it's going to be a little harder to get to them on this next round. And we spent all that money, we didn't win, we're going to naturally level to 5, and we're still looking for that Twitch.
So I think there's 3 options to approach the economy perspective of when you should spend your gold with this composition. Either you're going to not spend any money at 3-1, you're just going to slow roll, right? Stay at 50. Or you're going to roll down to 0 and try to hit all 3 stars right then and there, power spike, bully the lobby. But there is a third option, and it is going to be rolled to a little over 30, because that's the point where you can still hit some tier 2 upgrades, make your board strong enough to, while they might not be winning rounds, right, take down a few units. But the most important thing is going down to, maybe like that 33, 35 gold mark, is you're able to recover economy in 2 turns, make it back up to 50, keep slow rolling from there. And I think that was actually the best option in Tubby's position. My concern is that I still don't know if it's going to be enough, because of the what I described earlier, with I don't think it was a great spot to do it in general, with just how many of those units they were lacking moving into Krugs, but also the items, right? Not having any gloves, only having 1 Runeans for a Twitch. My composition lives or dies based off of Twitch items and how quickly that can spike, but they just wasn't really on pace for that from what we saw.
And eventually the super late game comps will overcome Twitch. I mean, we've seen the Dragon lose a couple times to comps like Ari because of giant slayers and stuff like that. So the Twitch is a guaranteed, top 4 if you get it in time. But if you start lagging behind, you're just going to start seeing yourself fall further and further down the leaderboard. As Zippy Malkaye, we have some basic augments again. Celestial Blessing, First Aid Kit going to be the choice. Oh, actually, we could do Hex Nova because we have 6 Hex Techs.
Yeah, okay, not the option, actually, even though we have 6 Hex Techs and already have the Hex Tech heart there. Maybe it is just not strong enough, and yeah, I mean, I may be inclined to agree. It's not that strong of an augment. Taking that First Aid instead.
First Aid's so good with Hex Techs and how they work in general. Going to have a little bit of extra shield, but things like Swain, for example, are going to be able to reap the benefits of first aid as well. And then that's going to help things like Sivir, as Sivir needs time, probably needs the most time out of any carry. Reminds me of Kale from set 6 in that way, where if you just put her in and she's tier 2, it is not enough. You got to get her in early, you got to get right items, and then you can start thinking about winning the lobby with Sivir. With Hextech in first aid, that's going to be a lot easier to do. She's going to be a lot more protected. Look how big that shield is, and that's going to be happening every so often here for the entirety of the round.
Yeah, 35% increase on shields that happen multiple times a fight. I mean, this is like the obvious correct decision here for EP Maokai. We see the value, and this is, likely to turn into a win streak. Is able to sell a Rek'Sai to make 40. The concern of Hextech boards is, when are they going to fall off, right? Hextech boards generally center or find their way eventually centering around a Sivir carry, but even when you get to like 6 or, sometimes 8 Hextech even, the Sivir still feels lackluster. You mentioned Sivir needs time to build up, and sure, this first aid kit is going to help and give more time for the Sivir. We really need to be thinking about what items that we're going and how we're going to make the Sivir powerful, because there are literally 0 Sivir items right now available. There's going to be a blue buff Morello's on the Lucian, and that's about it.
Okay, moving on over to Nextly, and that is going to be a Gnar. Gnar, probably the best mid-game unit in all of TFT. Even at tier 1, this Gnar is actually going to be ripping through with some damage with those items. I like the itemization. The Giant Slayer is one of my favorite items in this current meta. I've always liked Giant Slayer over Last Whisper for some reason. I wonder if it's because it's the name of the company. Anyway, as this Gnar now should be able to sustain a little bit with that shield from the Bloodthirster. And the other thing about Gnar is item agnostic on the AD and tank side of things. So, if you have those, if you need some defense, throw it on the Gnar, right? As of right now, that is a triple chalice going to party over there from Hardcore Maki. That's some, is it an ice cream party? Is it a pizza party? What are those party hats going to?
Well, it is a bit of an ice cream cone, ice cream party from Harukawa. I'm a bit surprised to see that. I think it can, if generally when you see those chalices built, they lean into things like Seraphine or Orianna, right? I think those are the two that stand out. Generally with, Enchanter, Innovator focused boards, but you can't have a traditional, AP carry really work out with that. It's not like you can stack triple chalice on an Ahri and have it pop off, or even a Malzahar, right? You can buff those units up to have them on the side, but they're never going to be your real primary damage dealers. You need a lot of specific things to come together, again, with these, say, like Enchanters or Innovators. So I think it's a long way to go for Harukawa, and they're not even win streaking with it, right? Usually you slam chalices to have that early to mid-game power, make sure you streak, and then can translate into, a top 4 finish. Still gonna have a respectable amount of HP, right? Only 12 behind first place, so excited to see where that can go as we look at Nextly facing off against Hyperspace. And like you mentioned, this Gnar super good in the early game or mid game.
Still tier 1 too.
Yeah.
The shield helping, and I don't even think we needed the shield to survive the Caitlyn ult, but definitely helping us sustain in terms of that front line. So you're not building the tank stats on the Gnar, you are having the Bloodthirster kind of function in a similar way. So you're going to be taking more damage, but hopefully the Bloodthirster is going to keep that Gnar alive to function as a little bit of an off-tank bruiser in the front line. Those Gnar items should be going onto someone else potentially later.
Yep.
Where that is, we don't know quite yet, as there's really no one outside of the Gnar that can use these items. These are very good AD items, and unfortunately we have a pretty good AP comp on the board right now, as we do get some AP items. The Sivir might be the transition here, though.
I think it's likely to be Irelia. I think she works really well with, I mean, she doesn't need the BT healing if she's paired with 3 Socialite, and Nextly already has that 3 Socialite package. Giant Slayer does work a little bit better on units like the Sivir. It might be a bit of a split, right? You might be seeing items go over to both of them, and it's going to be a bit hard to do now that the Wolf round happened, and there wasn't really favorable items for that. So we'll have to see. A commit to one way or the other. It could be the Sivir, though, as you mentioned. Looking at Lumikev, finally, they have gotten the Mercs online and actually able to get to 5 Mercs, right? So even though it's only a 3 loss streak, these cash outs might have, a bit, or hopefully have a bit more of value there. Let's see how far it can translate.
Yeah, can have that thief's gloves, like lucky roll,
Ooh, already
for
winning.
example. We are going to cash out. So
Yeah.
it was 5. We're going to get at least something out of this. Again,
Hopefully
we could
something.
high roll an item or a thief's gloves. Let's see what it's going to be. We do have 3 orbs, so this is actually looking pretty good already.
Oh, VIP Draven and an Ori too? Same roll.
Without the cash out. So these items are going to be a lot better on the Draven. Love Giant Slayer on Draven. A lot of people will be building double Giant Slayer on units like Draven, as that's going to be a Jin/4 gold. That's going to be another 5 gold. And I believe that's about 10 gold there.
Yeah, just about. Okay, so a lot needed to happen there, and honestly, not a lot did happen besides an Oriana upgrade. Going to be Rage Blading this Draven, but we don't have Debonair and still have 3 Mercs actually as well. And I mean, some of the units are not going to be very good. Sure, the Quinn gives Challenger, but that's a big loss that Lumi Kev did just take. Still needs to make a lot of change to happen to this board. 41 HP is pretty safe, though. You're kind of afforded that loss. That is fine. Needs to keep on rolling here, though, and Leonas are a big find, right? Gets the Debonair online. It is going to be a good frontline option.
And we're going to put our Socialite Hex. We knew that was in the second space, so we might not even use it. The Galio is a nice bait for things like Blitzcrank. As we have rolled down to 0, we're going to switch out the Galio. We do have 2 of them, so we could get up even more gold to continue rolling down. Oh, Tom Kench. That could be a way to come back with some more items. Bloodthirster would be really nice for the Draven, but I think we were a tad dizzy here. Mouse intention not quite there. As I mean, this ended up being all right, but we're also going up against the Warwick 3 right now with the Rageblade QSS and the Edge of Night.
Okay. That's interesting. So Quicksilver and Rageblade, you know, obviously very good Warwick items, but choosing the Edge of Night over, say, a Titans that players usually prioritize. And that actually allowed Goofy to win streak throughout a lot of that mid game, right? Having the Warwick with just that extra item, able to preserve a lot of HP. Goofy is first place in HP in the lobby right now, and this is a Warwick composition that, yeah, you hit decently early. You preserve the HP, so this is almost guaranteed, I would say, a top 4 from that spot.
All right, is the guarantee going to cash out? My friends, Lumikev definitely wants that Bloodthirster, probably for some sustain. Another Giant Slayer is not awful for the for the Draven. It's so funny. In MMRs like lower than Diamond, those 3 spats would probably be the first things to go, as opposed to what we saw there, which was they were all last to go, because spats are one of the only things in this game that can truly just die on the bench, right? You're going to get no stats out of it. Say you throw this cloak onto somebody, at least they're going to get some magic resist, right? With the spatula, it literally just might take space. It just become an artifact of your board as time goes on. As this board, you know, I think had a little bit too much time to get here, to be honest with you. But the Edge of Night's really, really cool. It kind of does the same thing as the Titans, but instead of giving you stats to survive, it gives you just a way to get aggro off of you, get another kill, get some things ramped up. And by the time you probably get another kill, the Warwick has gotten some health back.
There's actually a little bit high roll, I think, for Goofy. Still 72 HP, like I mentioned, but has the Quinn 3 as well. Yeah, Warwick's going to be running over pretty much every single composition at this point in the game, and did just level to 7. Has a couple of 3 costs, right, that they're pushing to get to 3-star. It has 6 Zax and 6 Trindamirs, but as we get into our 4/6 augment, what's it going to be? Component grab bag is very interesting, and it probably will be that. Yeah, could have been an Ornn artifact. It just a little bit too risky, right? If you get offered some AD items or some, you know, AP carry items that would just be useless. Maybe Tryndamere could carry an AD, but that's too risky, right? The components are going to be a lot safer.
And I like the Zeeks on the Tryndamere. This is something that a lot of people have done in this comp. This is one of those innovations that I would say, putting the Zeeks on the Tryndamere to make the Warwick even better. Tryndamere being used as a utility source instead of a damage source themselves. Saw the double Zeeks Frozen Heart build on Tryndamere, and in my opinion, that's best in slot for this particular comp. It is absolutely insane, just the off-the-rip attack speed that Warwick has, as we're definitely going to be scouting out our next round. The Thief's Gloves roll is All right, for the Khroen against this
Wow.
team comp, actually not the best, as the Zephyr actually hits the carry.
Yeah, very well done there on that scouting from Goofy. I mean, it was probably a lot to watch for the casual TFT player. Like, I don't know what's happening. They're just looking at boards and looking back. I can't even process what's there. But Goofy processed where the carry was on each board, knew they rolled into the Haru-Kawa matchup, Zephyr'd the Seraphine, and won the round partially because of it. Maybe, arguably, the Seraphine couldn't have taken out this Warwick either way. But still, nice to see those TFT mechanics come through. Moving back to hyperspace, yes, it is Ashe. You love to see it. Ashe reroll 4 bodyguard, 5 syndicates, and in a good spot on a 4 win streak. Like, this is really, really good, Boop.
This is how you make the Ashe reroll work. It seems like we locked it in at least a couple rounds ago, at least 4 rounds ago, right? Because that's where our win streak started. So in terms of value, we're getting some good value out of it. And now we have it completely itemized. We don't have to worry about things like Blitzcrank. We can start focusing on making our front line even better than it already is with that Morgana. Redemption is going to be the next item, and that's not a bad item. It is something that helps with stats and helps with healing. Remember, it does help with AoE abilities as well. But all eyes on the Ashe. There's no attack speed for this Ashe, though, so that's the one thing that might be an issue, but that is gonna, I mean, each one of those arrows is a full-on semi-truck coming from that bow at Ashe 3, but, you know, things like Sustain, things like Warwick might actually do well against it.
Yeah, no attack speed, like you mentioned, but with the sniper buff, with the sniper's nest as well, yeah, each one of those arrows can be packing a real punch. And this Morgana is a fantastic frontline, having 4 bodyguard emblem. The Morellos as well actually is really nice for the burn. It helps out Ashe, helps Ashe take out those high HP units, and she doesn't have a giant slayer or anything like that. Her items are just that IE Last Whisper. But she's doing a lot of damage. And yeah, the front line holds. I think this is going to be a round win. Ashe gets onto the Sivir. There it is.
Tier 2 unit versus Tier 4 unit with a little bit of help. The Sivir, you know, it's just one of those units that, you know, even a little bit of adjustment can push it into overpowered and unfun territory, just based on how it worked. I believe other iterations of Sivir have been the same in that sense, where she was either absolutely unseen or one of the best comps on the field. In previous patches, that has been the case. So I like Sivir. I like the way it feels when you win with Sivir. It's a very satisfying way of winning, but can feel a little bit unfair. I think in this current spot, we do need a bit of extra help, because there's a lot of units on Teletubby's board. And this board's another one that was very slow to start, but ended up hitting almost everything that we needed.
Twitch positioned very well here. Always wants to be opposite of the carry so he can pierce through. Runan's very important as well, which Teletubby does have. And I don't think the board of Haru-Kawa can work against the Twitch Invaders board. And yeah, surely it does not.
With that positioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Identification from Teletubby, but yeah.
Yep, that Twitch in the perfect position. Twitch is either going to shred you apart or get shredded himself, right? You could either hop into a bunch of enemies and, you know, maybe take 1 or 2 out, and that's enough for the rest of your team. But at this point in time, the positioning on Twitch is arguably the most important thing for this comp.
Definitely. And I was a bit skeptical of this composition, right, from Teletubby's position, but they've made it work out. It is impressive. I think this Gnar upgrade should happen every day of the week. You're still 3 singed away from singed 3. Makes the correct identification there. This Socialite Hex is a bit unfortunate, right? Because you don't really ever want Twitch to go to the middle. You really just want to guess, you know, correctly on left or right side. Because the middle, Twitch can get punished a lot. And so yeah, it's going to move to far left there. The Echo is going to take that Socialite spot. Not the most value, but I think it still is the correct move. If it works out against Lumikev on elimination point.
Elimination point, elimination station all the way from first place on the last lobby. So that just goes to show how unsafe your position can be. And you only have 1 more lobby after this, so you have to make sure that you top 2 on that next lobby. You probably make it into that spot, but we are going to fall in 8th place, followed by Firestorm in the 7th, Yippee Maokaye in 6th at 16 HP. It seems like the bottom side of the leaderboard has stabilized, which means that either people like Nexthy or Goofy are sacking HP to hit level 9, or our comps aren't that great right now.
Yep. Couple eliminations happened there. Lumikev took an unnecessary risk, took Merkheart, had no Mercs in the early game, did not hit, and yeah, got punished for it. And that's, I mentioned earlier, I think a bit of a question mark, right? Didn't really need to play that aggressive, didn't need to play that risky. But again, chose to, got punished for it. Firestorm took the 7th. We're going to be seeing another couple eliminations happen soon. Yippee Maokai, 8 Hex Tech at this point. Those shields with the first aid kit, so big.
Oh yeah, I love
and
the combination.
Keepers as well.
Yeah, so remember earlier today when we were like, there are so many things that the augments can push you towards, right? And remember, this was almost a Hex Nova. It actually wasn't. It would have been cool if it was a Hex Nova, but Yippee picked first aid immediately, and we're going to see the benefits of that. This is how you win with Sivir. Maybe it requires this amount of support, and honestly, this might be the point of something like this. I used the Kale observation earlier, and that is actually ringing more and more true as I look at more and more Sivir comps. It really seems like you got to get it early, you got to get the right augment, but if you do, get all of the puzzle pieces together, right, you get the Exodia situation to happen. The Sivir can do it, but you're working way harder than other people are to get to that spot potentially. But you know what, you get there, you might have worked harder, but you're going to reap the rewards as we're going to start moving some people over, because like you said, it's not even just first aid, it's keepers too.
Yeah, this is one of the really cool situations. I think calling it the Exodia comp is actually really true. I think that's a great observation, because every single piece of this puzzle fits together so perfectly and so necessary, right? The Hex Tech heart, to be able to get to the 8 Hex Tech, as well as the Keeper shields. That's so many shields already, but then you pair first aid kit on top of that. These shields are more than half of these units' HP just to go into the round. It buys Sivir so much time. You talked about it, Boop. You said time is what Sivir needs. What better than just have so much raw shielding to have to get through to buy her that time?
And honestly, I cannot wait to try this. It seems like if I get first aid and I'm playing Hex Techs, that is your Sivir direction, right? Maybe first aid is what makes Hex Techs good, because I think this would have been fine without keepers, to be honest with you. That seems like maybe a tad overkill, but I mean, they're not losing, so I can't say that just yet.
Yeah,
right?
No, I love it actually. I think it might not be needed in every single fight. There could be some more value given in another augment, but it's still really nice, I think, to see all that synergy. And hey, it might actually be really the difference maker in some fights where Sivir gets maybe jumped on a bit early, maybe gets pressured by a Kha'Zix or an Irelia or something like that.
The Sivir functioning, which is raw damage too, with the Deathblade. We're not going to get her to tier 3 just yet. We could get her there. We do technically have time if we keep winning, because number 1 is at 52 HP. At Tryndamere 3 in other sets would be a win condition, and this one is just another tier 3 unit. Unfortunately, might be able to help with 1 or 2 extra kills, but Warwick is still going to be the carry in that comp regardless, as we're moving our tank items onto a couple different people, potentially onto the Leona, the Redemption moving onto the Vi, using the remover to do that.
Really? That is kind of interesting, actually. I would have liked the pairing of the Redemption to go with the Bramble and Sunfire on the Leona. Maybe give the Frozen Heart to another unit like the Vi, but I mean, hey, that's okay. Really just want this Leona to live as long as possible and buy time. But Tryndamere, he's doing a little bit of good stuff here in this fight. It really is the Warwick that's the MVP, right? But still, nice to see Tryndamere do a little bit of work.
A lot of people building QSS too, so usually the solution for units like that would be CC, but that is not the case for the first 15 seconds of the fight, right? So you're going to need to try to find a weakness of that Warwick a little bit better, but with the ancillary parts like the Tryndamere being a Tryndamere 3, getting a Zeke's in there to help with the Warwick attack speed, those are the inches that you need to cross the finish line with the Warwick comp that you constantly fails meters before it, as I go both Imperial and American in my measurements just then. Wait, Imperial, whatever.
Metric, Imperial,
metric and metric Imperial, are we Imperial?
I Draven's an Imperial smile.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Also, a VIP infinite attack range. There was a period of time where VIP Draven was absolutely crushing it in the second row, and I was like, "What's the point?" At that point, just get a different VIP, right? But you know what? Whatever floats your boat.
Or floats your boat. Apparently it is not going to float next. These boat is going to be taking a big loss there. The boat is going to sink instead as he goes out in maybe bottom 4 here. Depends on Harumaki's fight, or Harukawa Maki's fight, which they do win. So yeah, next the bot forged from that spot. Tally also bot for it as well with that Twitch reroll.
You know, every time I play Twitch reroll, I also get sixth. So I wonder what the reasoning for that is, and I think the reasoning is the crust of other comps becoming stronger is happening earlier than before with those Twitch comps, and again, that is why you need to get the Twitch earlier. I think that's why you needed to invest in more money earlier on. We played so slow, and the rest of the lobby was so slow in general at the beginning of this game. I think a little bit of aggression would have paid off there. It might have not been a lobby win, but I probably would have made a top 4, but that's going to be debatable forever. Hindsight is 2020, as now we're looking at the party hat Seraphine. We haven't quite gotten an ult just yet. There it is, and it's going to one-shot those tier 3 units, but we need another ultimate, and it's not even able to break through half of the HP of the Warwick, but we're not winning by a bunch of units anymore. This is looking like a potential lobby-winning comp as we're down to the final 2.
Final 2 indeed. Harukawa Maki in the triple chalice. Getting top 4 is about what you expect in that situation. Definitely would be still happy about that one from that spot. But now we get to see the real high rollers of this lobby, and they're both centered around 2 cost carries, Ashe reroll and Warwick reroll. You can't say reroll's dead, Boop. They are finding ways to thrive. It's a completely different lobby, I would say, than last time around, where the Irelias and the Malzahars and stuff were the focus, but now we're seeing something completely different.
Double locket roll on Thieves. That's really nice. It's going to keep us even more protected, especially if you're the Warwick. Think Sivir in that sense, how protected that Sivir has been. Wonder if Hyperspace is going to be able to compete against the Warwick. It doesn't really seem like there's any secondary CC at the moment. We do need another, Morgana ult 15 seconds after QSS does leave could be the difference maker, but then you've got the, secondary option of the Edge of Night to stop at the aggro, but hopefully there's only a couple units left. The Ashe actually doing pretty good right now against the Warwick, and once that Banshees does fall, the attack speed will suffer as well, and look at that. There is that late game, that late round CC from the Morgana, from the Zyra, all helping out there, and that's going to be a loss for the Warwick for the first time in a while. The Ashe handling it no problem.
You called it, Boop, the post 15-second Morgana ult, just because she is so tanky. The Warwick was stuck on her for so long, got like 3 ultis off in that time, and was able to take out that Warwick. So Goofy, even though they had good positioning swap, even though they had a great Zephyr onto the Ashe, still wasn't enough. Hyperspace, the burden is not on them and is on Goofy instead to make these positioning changes work out. Frontline Zephyr this time instead of on the Ashe.
Ooh, good.
This is great, but it does leave the Tryndamere a bit stuck.
Also, that was like the world's best Zyra ult to start to open a game. Every single person in the front row gets locked up. The Ashe is going to focus on the Warwick first this time around, but it seems like there is enough sustain for the Warwick right now, but not until the Banshees falls. Eventually, that should be enough damage. It's actually going to be the Jhin secondary damage to go along with the Ashe to help out, and this is what a Warwick comp usually does in a lobby, but because this one was so particularly slow going, it was able to squeeze a ton of value out as a second Edge of Night comes through.
Lock it for Hyperspace. Could go on the back line, but Goofy's not even able to get past the front line, to be honest. As Morgana has been the real focal point, the real thorn in Goofy's side. Goofy needs to position the Warwick just away from that Morgana. It just can't get stuck on that. It has to find some pathing, right, to get through the other side frontliners, whether it be the Braum or the Leona, make their way to the back line onto the Zyra. Because Morgana has just been that Warwick bane for the whole past couple rounds.
The best case scenario is Warwick focuses the Morgana last, because it is in the
Yep.
front line with the Gargoyle Stoneplate and the Bodyguard emblem. That Morgana is gonna get 2 or 3 ults no matter what. So how do we maximize our value, which is avoid her completely? We throw a couple meat shields up up in front instead, as
Ooh,
this
this
is
is
actually
good.
going to be a bad switch for hyperspace, trying to play a couple different types of mind games there, as it's a
Yep.
nice Zephyr, but we have to get through this first unit pretty quickly.
Oh, Morgana now is again in front of the Warwick. The switch was bad, but it's going to work out. I think it was what was it, a Zac pull? I think that ended up griefing it there. And with that, Hyperspace
Should be it.
definitively takes the lobby with 5 Syndicate Ash reroll. There you have it.
2 reroll comps ending out on the top for that particular lobby. It's going to be Warwick, something that we expected to see, along with the Ash, which is a little bit off to the side. It's definitely still like a B or A tier comp, but the way
Yep.
that that lobby ended up going, the CC that is inherently in that Ash comp seems to be a little bit of that difference maker. Also, tier 3 Morgana is pretty good.
Yeah, very, very good. I think if that Morgana was tier 2, it would not have gone the same way. It would have been
Agreed.
completely the opposite direction. It would have been Goofy, I think, with the first. Goofy still had some respectable results, has had a third place into a second. And so let's go ahead and take a look at everyone else's scores, see what they were for that last lobby. Lobby A, wait, that's Mercurial going first, Boop. Wow.
Hello, Mercurial starting off very strong. Had a pretty big game in that first lobby. Hit almost everything they needed, but also Kane Drew doing a pretty good job along with Peebo. So that lobby actually finishing pretty similar to how it finished earlier. But lobby B having a little bit of a difference, as first place from lobby 1 is 8th place in lobby 2.
You know, Boop, I usually throw this to you, but I think I want to make a suggestion this time and see how you feel about it. For what lobby we see going into game 3, as we take a look at the overall scoreboards, yeah, it is very close in the middle there. Mercurial is probably secured to move over into the finals, but in lobby A, Valkyron, Hypnoticus, Peebo, and Wizard are all within 2 points of each other, and all in lobby A, Boop. So what do you think about going to lobby A?
Let's do it. A-okay with lobby A.
All right, A-okay with Lobby A. There's a bit, as we take a look, where the players of Lobby B are. They're, Goofy with 15 points, Maki with 14, Hyperspace with 14 as well. But then it kind of drops off. I mean, Lumi Kev is the only player in the middle, but then like Firestorm and Yippee Mao Kaye have 8. Which is still possible for them to, with a good result, right? With a pop-off game, a first place and a second place can make it in. Right, these are the times where you want to go for that Merc heart, even when you have no Mercs in stage 2 for the augment. Maybe not last game for Kev. Yeah, Kev went from I don't know. That was just I don't know. They have 11 points now. Their fate is still in their hands, right? They can redeem themselves in game 3, but it was just took the
I
risk.
think
Didn't pay off.
I've seen a good amount of Merc cash outs since last fight night, and they have all been underwhelming. Every single one of them. I think no, there's one over the weekend that was good, but other than that, a lot of them have been pretty underwhelming. It actually has scared me off of Mercs altogether, because
Wow.
of just the payouts that I've been seeing and how much some of these top players struggle when Mercs doesn't give you direction. That has
Yeah.
been the name of the game so far when it comes to a couple of these Merc players, which has been the cash out happens and it's just money, right? Or it's just a couple units. Because sometimes items lead you into a direction so you don't get too dizzy, and how they handled that has been all over the place that we've seen. So we haven't gotten any Merc boards, I believe, outside of the 5 Merc that we saw a little earlier today. But I in this third lobby, when you're trying to, you're like the Cobra trying to attack for that last spot or something like that, now's the time to try something like that.
Exactly. Is probably what, speaking back, we've compared this a lot, or at least referenced this past week in Challenger Series. That last game and last day of Challenger Series, one of the most hyped games I've ever watched, because it was a Merc player. I forget the name, but it was a Merc player trying to compete for that spot over Soju to qualify, and they rolled, for Mercs at that, final game.
It was
actually
Ripple.
hit. Oh yeah, Ripple. Right,
He was
right.
one round away.
That was so crazy of a game,
One
actually. But
round.
those are those do or die situations where you have to go all out. You have to risk it. And yeah, for some of the players right here in Fight Night, a similar situation. If you don't have a pop
Hmm.
off first place game, you're not going to make it into the finals.
I think I said that day that I would be frustrated if Ripple would play something, top floor related because, it was you had one thing to do, right, which was beat Soju, and you had the only way that you can win a lobby is through Merc cash out, right? That
Yeah.
is probably one of the most well-known things in TFT, but it's not guaranteed, but it should help, and it almost happened. We lost one
It was
round
such a good
too
game.
early. Whew, chills. That is probably one of the best games of lobbies of TFT you'll ever watch in general
Yeah.
within like a tournament setting in terms of stakes and stuff like that. Oh, I was just lucky
Peak
to be a part of it.
storyline.
Yeah,
I know.
seriously, man.
Actual
Like,
peak. You
there's-
can't get any better for a finals game.
Right?
I
And
was jealous.
the crazy thing about it is it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Right? Soju could have just gotten, 6th or above. And been fine. But definitely take a look back at that game because Ripple plays exactly how I want people to play in that situation. Unfortunately, we hemorrhaged HP at the beginning of the game, and it was, I think, like 6 or 7 HP too much by the end of it all, as it's going to be shrugged off. Socialite Heart and Ascension for Mercurial are only player who's like guaranteed a spot in the final right now, has a perfect score. Wanting to keep it going. I mean, a 30-point score going into finals has, I don't think, been done yet.
No, I don't think it has. I mean, this format of Fight Night Rising, relatively new. We've been at it for, I think this is the 7th week now, actually. So we're getting a little bit up there, but still a lot of records need to be set. Mercurial might be the first one to set the triple firsts. Look at that. I'm not sure about the math of like having it already being guaranteed move into the top 8, and maybe I shouldn't have brought it up because obviously math is not going to be our strong suit here.
He's 10 points above 8th place, I believe. So with 1 point he should be good to go.
Okay, yeah, so that is going to be a bit of a lock then. That was easy math. I should have.
Yeah.
Thanks, Boop.
You're welcome.
I wasn't looking how many players were above that threshold.
Yeah, I just like anytime I can use
my
education degree, even though it was music education, any like adjacency to it, I feel good. Feel good about it. As Mercurial now running the a couple bodyguards. We might switch things up as time goes on, but we're probably going to take this L or not because we go up against someone who did not level up and also was doing something similar to us. So we'll see what happens. If we win this, we might invest and try to get a couple more pairs. If we lose, then we'll definitely commit to the loss streak.
Probably going to win because of a little unit called Caitlyn. Oh, and I guess a Warmog Slam. That does help as well. I don't think that needed to come through. Ascension's going to even make those auto attacks hit, 50% harder, of course, to win that round. As Mercurial kind of gets a bit lucky there, or unlucky, right? If they're going to continue to be weak, they might
Winning's
have
not everything.
Yeah, winning sometimes is actually a bad thing, crazy enough.
This is a game where you will see people rage at winning more than any other game in the world, probably.
True, actually.
Like, being a Merc player and then you go up against another Merc player and you win is rage-inducing. Because you just want to have fun now. All of a sudden, you literally can't play the comp that you were wanting to play. As Peebo now, with the wonderful style of hair, I need a haircut. Maybe I can do the same thing. Gonna have just a pretty common Hextech opening. It's gonna be the Senna in the backline providing a lot of the damage.
Yep. A couple Hextech online right now. And, I mean, think about Hextech. You got to think about after that last game,
right?
Hextech and all the first aid. I don't think we're gonna be seeing that almost like ever again, right? There's such a niche scenario that almost will never happen, but
yeah,
now that did happen, I just can't stop thinking about it though.
It's like when you get Mercenary Heart and then Pirates. Right, yeah. And you get to just pick whoever to get 50% extra damage with your Mercenary Heart. It doesn't really happen because you need a couple different choices to get there, but really good forethought. It was almost like we had the Future Sight augment in that point in time as a person in order to make that work. But yeah, we have
I like that.
Thank you. We have the Vex in the front line on the Socialite Hex. Something that we actually saw a good amount of was QSS on Vex. Over the weekend, adding dodge onto the front line. So it usually happened when we had the Yordle openings to help with just some units getting stuck on her so we can not hemorrhage HP in the early game. But it's something that we saw a couple times on Vex, once on Alistar as well.
Oh no, Peebo going the loss-win-loss route here. One of the worst kind of openers that you can have. Is still making 10, however. Did have Vex on the Hex. Be getting a little bit of damage, but that's not everything. This comp still has a long way to go. There's everything, right? No items are slammed right now. There's no econ generation, right? No full Yordle package. Peebo's gonna take the sword. Let's lean into AD. Might be an IE slam on the Senna. I think that's the most likely thing from this situation. Peebo is a player who does approach TFT, I think, differently than most other players, right? Even going back, I've loved watching Peebo all the way back from like set 2, right? He just does such crazy things, usually involving pushing levels, going to 9, and making a kind of like a Bill Gates style board, right? Just legendary units.
Yeah, it was his namesake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was his comp.
Such an interesting player to watch, and I really, from that position that he's in right now, really gonna be curious to see how he pivots out of it, because he's probably not gonna have the HP and the board strength to get to that, fast 8, fast 9 legendary style. But Peebo doesn't really, crutch on it, I think, as much anymore as he used to.
Yeah, it reminds me of New Bowel, right? It seems like a lot of players like Spicy Appies and Peebo are trying to be New Bowel. Right, what New Bowel was able to do over the weekend, which I think I said it a couple times. I think New Bowel is probably the best flex player in all of TFT, which in turn makes you probably arguably one of the best players in TFT.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, because some people like forcing, right? There are some people who play one comp and they're successful at it.
Yep.
20 out of 20 type of situations. But what I think Peebo and Spicy Appies are trying to do is what New Bowel did do over the weekend, which is play flexibly, but play S tier comps almost the entire time, not through the meta, but through your lobby's meta. And that's kind of like, I think, the skill expression that's a little different between Appies and Peebo is that aspect of it. I think New Bowel doesn't need as much context to create a finishing comp as Peebo does, and I think Appies is in the middle.
It's very fascinating comparing TFT players together and what their pros and strengths are, and what their weaknesses are as well. But I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. I think that there's similar concepts. I think there's different things every TFT player is good at, and while it is making these like you mentioned, kind of strong end game compositions, but they're all like lobby contextual, is a really difficult skill to master, because you'd be thinking about so much in every TFT game, right? Every TFT lobby, each lobby is so different, and we've mentioned that concept before, but it's, I think, really hard to kind of nail down just how important it is to be able to have that innate knowledge, innate sense of what context one you need to look at, and then how that influences decisions that you make throughout the whole course of the lobby.
I mean, it even watching New Bowel depends on whether you're building tanky or not in the early game, right? There were certain comps that he would roll during like really weird times because other people weren't, right? The other thing that he's really good about is identifying where other comps and their breakpoints are going to be and taking advantage of where their low points are. And that is the other kind of thing that I think other players can get better at, is identifying where other people are about to be and kind of blocking them from that moment for either a round or two, which you can do if we know at least one of the three that we're going to be going up against. And if you're able to, throw against the Merc player, for example, is kind of what I'm talking about, you're going to be doing a lot better in the lobby. And I think New Bowel is one of the best at identifying when to do these things, when to take a loss versus when to invest and keep pushing versus when to just innovate and kind of, chill.
Speaking of innovate, Twitch innovators on the board for Connor is me. Did hit the Twitch too. It's actually one away from Singe, so I think is actually comparing it to last game, Tally Tubby, Connor is in a much better spot. Is going to do a very similar thing and roll down to about 30 gold. I would be surprised to see them roll further. I wouldn't like to see them roll much further than this, especially after that Warwick 2 upgrade. So yeah, stops at 30, has better items as well from this opener, has the IE and the Last Whisper combo already. This is such a better spot. I think this is way more likely to go top 4.
And I'm just going to belabor the point a little bit more on some of our flexible players. So yeah, rolling a 30 gold here traditionally is always going to work out, right? But what I'm talking about with players like New Bowel, Peebo at times, and Appies is they're really good at identifying when they're in the 10%. right? Yes, 90% of the time you're going to want to stop at 30 gold, but 10% of the time, right, depending on if other people aren't rolling and just giving you these units, you push, and then you end up reaping the rewards by taking more HP off of the board based on what comp you're running. And that's how you win with Jhin, right? That's the only way I can see it happening. So the big thing is what context you need to identify which portion you're on. And it's so hard to know when you're not a part of the majority of decision making there, when rolling past 30 gold is actually a good strategy versus a throw, when 90% of the time it is a throw.
Exactly. It's very, very slim situations where it is the correct decision. And I don't think this is one of them. So I think this is a correct identification. Would probably need to be like 2 twitches away instead of 4 at that point. But yeah, still a long way to go, but can repair that economy. We also have to take a look at this fight between Wizard and Andros. Have a bit of off-screen context, and that's that Kandrew is running Mercs, and they actually cashed out really early in stage 2. I think they had like a 3 or a 4 loss only, so not gonna be a ton of value, and they're already way down at 48 HP. That must hurt a lot in terms of your chances to come back. You're even talking about how a lot of times recently you've seen very unimpactful Merc cash outs at probably like, that 7, 8, 9, 10 cash out point, let alone having it interrupted already. Andrew in a rough spot.
Oh no. Yeah, I would say that, Khroen. I would say that is true as we move over to oh dearest me. You just blessed your heart at that comp. That's totally what you did, but bless your heart. As Hypnoticus once again, right, starting out on the front, we got to 4th place, I believe, in 2 lobbies ago. I didn't quite catch where the second lobby landed.
It was a 5th.
Yeah, so exactly. We might be safe for the top 8, but going into the final, that is where things are going to change, and that's where power levels of certain players stop. I think, again, moving over to the weekend, a player like Malala is someone who will consistently leave a group of 16, but never make a top 4, right, on the final day, and that requires different kinds of skills. It's so fascinating. I love TFT. So
TFT
cool.
is there's so much that you can really get into the nitty gritty about TFT. And speaking of that, actually, I wanted to comment on one of those aspects, and it is going to be Wizards 3-2 roll down. And how far do you go, right? Going down to 10 gold is very aggressive. Usually players should not go that deep, but Wizard hit a lot of upgrades. Actually, pretty much every single upgrade they were looking for. Hit the Malzahar, hit a Swain, hit other 3-cost upgrades that I'm forgetting offhand right now, but did hit a lot of stuff right there. And that's going to mean, I think, that Wizard can win streak throughout the rest of stage 3, and maybe even a little bit of stage 4 as well. Wizard, unfortunately, does not get that tier, and that is a huge deal. I think Blue Malzahar is going to make it a lot harder to streak with. Okay, it was a Morgana and a Lulu upgrade as well that came through. So
yeah, tier on Malzahar.
Without the tier.
Yeah, the blue buff on Malzahar is like one of the required, if there's a required item on someone on this lobby, and because people have started to run Rage Blades and stuff on people like Ahri, right? But you have to run a blue buff on Malzahar in order to reap full rewards. Just not enough attack speed in order to compensate for that, even if you did kind of build it a little similarly to Ahri. As we're over to Kandrew again, we have Giant Slayer, Infinity Edge, and a sword. So that's definitely going to be going towards a Draven of some sort, potentially another kind of challenger, but also going to go to the grave after this round, because it's some good tier 3 units. Actually, this is doing a lot better than I had anticipated. The Misfortune helping out a lot here, as this is going to be a 3-unit loss, and honestly, I thought it was going to be substantially worse than 3 units.
Yeah, I guess there was only 5 units, right? So
that's true.
But still, I think I was inclined to agree. At least one more unit. Kandrew cashed out early in stage 2. Said, you know what? I'm staying on the Merc train. And only time will tell if that's the correct decision, right? It's very risky. I don't think the board is very strong right now. Even if the cash out does happen, it's unlikely that Kandrew has everything that they need to pivot out of it and be successful. 20 HP is very low. the board is unlikely to be strong enough to cash out in this round. It does depend on fight RNG and matchmaking RNG more than anything. The matchup is there's going to be up against Valkyron, who has a Gnar too. The Gnar might just kind of 1v5 here.
I wish that wasn't like such a common situation here in the mid game. The Gnar can be very, very strong, especially with the Bloodthirster. Second time we've seen the Gnar with the Bloodthirster is one-shotting people in the back line. Gotta take a quick breather for some reason, real quick in the middle of that fight.
That was weird.
Yeah, you saw it too. And
was that a disarm? I didn't think. Oh, dodge the rock actually. MF. Okay, it's not gonna be enough though, but like it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, we made it interesting. It was just a 1-unit loss, but that comp was always going to win that round.
Yep. But now we... Ooh, okay. So moving away for now. Definitely want to get a chance to see that cash out from Kendra when it does happen. But that time is not yet, Boop. It is the time for Mercurial to high roll a Jace on 7, though.
Okay.
Pretty good. The items are a little lackluster, however, though, for this point. It's just frontline items. Really nothing in terms of what carry Mercurial wants to go, but still is able to streak out most of the game. Only lost 1 round in stage 3. And now finally we get some good items. VIP? Zeri as well? What?
With a couple snipers already on the board, so
this is level 7, Boop.
Yeah, we can throw away that Ashe and just go ahead and roll with this Zeri, because there's no reason to go to 5 syndicates now. Definitely move into the Zeri direction, because that is what the game is telling you to do. And I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't make that move, right? I think a lot of people at this level would, but I think people from like Diamond even would kind of stick to what their plan was, as opposed to, oh, I'm doing Ashe, I want to get that 5 syndicate, where you see the Zeri and you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go this way, and then you go that way instead, and you probably end up finishing higher because of it.
Yeah, this is... I'm still just in awe of the luck, the high rolling that's happened for that. It might not work out in every single fight right now, right? Going up against Piba. Piba has rolled it down to level 7, as you should do. I'm proud of you, Piba, not getting stuck into, pushing fast 8, fast 9 forever. Rolls into Braum 2, actually, we see here for a bit of context. But Mercurial, being at 83 HP, having the Zeri, having the Jace, being able to push to level 8 very safe. This is just such a dominant position here. Has 3 Debonair right now. It's only the board's only gonna get so much better as we move into late stage 4 and stage 5. These Zeri items are, I guess, the ones of concern here, as these aren't... I mean, having the Runeans isn't, I think, best in slot by any means. It is serviceable, though. Definitely needs to get lucky on Raptors.
All right, so 5-cost units aren't necessarily units that can sweep victories away the second they get locked in, but Mercurial is fine with that, because we're probably going to lose through stage 4 anyway, as we get a Senna 3 here thanks to a cash out, as Kane Drew gets a secondary cash out, as we also have Connor getting a tier 3 Warwick as well. So the Senna, especially the striker emblem, is going to be a pretty common one on the Senna. We could go 6, but no, the tome doesn't help us out. That is unfortunate. Oh no, we definitely wanted that 6th striker.
Yeah, really did.
Oh, we should have tried to re-roll it, at least. I don't know.
I mean, wants to push 8. I mean, being stuck on 7, I guess, is not where you want to be at.
Yeah, and you're not in desperation station, right? Having to re-roll an emblem like that. The Irelia, though, does fall really quickly, and that's what happens with Draven, one of the better units against the Irelia. If Draven's able to contact the Irelia pretty early on in the fight, Draven should be able to take her down before she gets to him. But this is not a guaranteed win. The Senna is going to get one shot off, but not enough auto attacks in between.
Andrew not running Mercs anymore. Did finally win and pivot all the way out, of course. These strikers socialites. It's a sword here, looks like. Yeah, okay. They're checking. Figuring out what they actually do want. It's probably gonna be a Zeke slam. This is a really awkward spot for Kendrew, because obviously, as that last round is any evidence of, not strong enough to fully streak in stage 4, but also it's unlikely you'll find an Irelia 2 if you just roll it all the way down on level 7 in that awkward spot where, oh, should I go 8? Should I roll it down? Rolling and only able... Having no pairs, I guess, is the biggest thing. Wow, goes 8 for just the 6 striker for the Rek'Sai. But it's going to be so long before they're able to get Irelia 2, Seraphine 2, and Sivir 2.
Okay, so Andros now trying to stay ahead of the curve. We are running out of money, and that's always an unfortunate situation. But we do have that Sivir 2, like you had mentioned. I like the Shiv on it. We also have the Bears. It's so interesting. Innovators did really well over the weekend, but traditionally have been a little underwhelming at Fight Night specifically, as we also have the Echo in the back line with the Frozen Heart. Such a great item on that Echo. We have the scrap to help as well. So much damage too from the Seraphine. Attack speed now from the Jarvan. Not a lot that Hypnoticus could do against that comp. Is Hypnoticus doing another nosedive right now, sticking around in 3rd place.
Let's see. This is a very interesting time in the lobby, because this is where that we get the, obviously the 3rd augment, and a lot of players' HPs start to converge around, that same point. There's just a 16 HP gap between 3rd and 7th. Concussive blows. Alright. Strikers obviously gonna come through with that Gnar and the Sivir. This is a very interesting board. Not all the time, actually not very often at all, do we see Innovators but then Sivir as the carry.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other options that people would consider better in this situation, but Irelia is not going to be here for that. And what is the next kind of similar unit like Irelia that can carry it? Sivir. And Sivir just doesn't do it as well. Burst damage a little bit stronger right now. In terms of how this meta is working, if there's not a lot of CC, if there's a lot of CC on the other side, then damage over time and things like Sivir can be helpful, but we need time for the Sivir. And the comps that we've seen before with the Sivir that found success were ones where 3 augments helped specifically the Sivir almost, right? So is it gonna be the same here? The Irelia is already in the back line. Not a lot of damage to the front line just yet, but the Sivir is starting to ramp up. Tier 3 Senna, though, it's a lot of damage. Oh, and that is a tier 1 Irelia.
Yeah, that's like people play Irelia, not Sivir.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, that is the short version of the words that I said earlier. Exactly.
Oh boy. Sivir just, even with the concussive, right? Being able to stun everything, like the whole board basically. Not good enough.
We'll see her soon, I'm sure, after regionals, or maybe during regionals. We did see Sivir take a dub on this lobby. But again, it was a very Kale-like experience, where a lot of times you put in Sivir, you get 6th, or if everything works out, you can win. We're going to start selling some things to get some econ as well, to potentially roll for a Seraphine to get another Jace. And the Luden's also helping out on this particular comp a lot, probably through the early game, helping us survive right now.
Another belt, not very useful. Don't want to make a Warmog's Echo, would rather him roll into some better items with the scrap. Looking at Biba, goes level 8, already has that Draven, already has 4 challengers online as well, a good front line with the Braum. Only thing that he can make happen right now is maybe go, get Clockwork in. As I say, could go the 5 Debonair route. It is a little bit fake, however. Okay, finds an Orianna. That's going to be a bit better of a secondary Clockwork. Let's see who gets this Morello's. It could just be the Braum, actually. Yeah, it is. There you go, he gets a pretty good angle. Not the best, though.
The Zeri still at tier 1 was a very good pickup a little while ago, but we definitely need some damage coming out from the Zeri. It is VIP, so it is definitely going to help out some of that extra magic damage, but the Quinn can be a pretty gnarly counter to a lot of units like Jinx and Zeri, but not enough damage otherwise, as Peebo going to lose out on that one. And Kandrew with the double Merc cash out, falling in 8th place.
Mercs and go in 8th. Seems to be the trend for today, unfortunately. But they were played in, honestly, not great situations. Maybe it's a little unlucky that, you know, you get mercs and you happen to cash out early, but then the recommit there is kind of just, I don't know, it's a little weird. We didn't see the exact context of like what situation they were in. Could they have pivoted out of them? Did they have anything else to really play at that point? But mercs is obviously very, very risky. See if people can stabilize from here. This board now has a Silco, but the whole board pretty much got shrouded there.
Yeah, but the Draven is going to be ripping through the front line right now. The Braum enough. I love Silco buffing up the Braum. Actually does a good amount of damage on the ult with that buff too.
Yeah.
But is also going to potentially get us to a second ultimate as it gives us a little bit more defense and mana generation. So the Braum helping out Peebo for that round is Valkyrion, who was in second place, I believe, in the entire 16 people, 20, where did I get that from? 16 people participating in the lobby right now. But this is also very, very close. 63 with Mercurial. Mercurial might win 3 lobbies in a row here with this advantage going into stage 5. But everyone else within 5 HP of each other.
Valkyrion.
From 2nd to 6th.
Yeah, Valkyrion out in 7th. And that is a player who really needed a good game here. So I'm not sure that's going to be enough to move them into the top 8. Wizard, these 3 cost rerolls, only has the Malzahar 3. The Shroud hits a good clump of units here, though.
Good Shroud can be a game changer. And this time around, it's definitely going to be helpful, but is it going to be enough? The Warwick getting stuck. Gargoyle Stoneplate seems to be the Warwick's biggest roadblock in the late game, but as of right now, we're actually fine with it. The Trap Claw definitely helps us. And so we have 7 HP for Wizard, 15, 22 still, 24, 27, 48. Hypnoticus might have done enough again to finish in that top 4.
Mercurial might go 1-1-1, Boop. The prophecy might actually happen. Getting to that point where players who still have that HP lead right now, it's for a reason, right? They're still very strong. As you do move back over to Mercurial, and that's going to be, of course, because of that Zeri VIP. Gets an IE for her as well. And is leveling to 9. With this, hopefully can hit that Zeri too. I don't want to say seal the deal on the game, but certainly make it very, very difficult for anyone to surpass.
And we have time to get to this Zeri, but not a lot of money. We're trying to push it right here and right now. We're level 9. A little surprising that we haven't gotten it yet. No one else going for the Zeri, so uncontested yet unclaimed now, as that is a tier 1 backline pretty much. The Jace definitely going to be helping out. I'm not sure the Zeri is going to be able to break through this comp either, but we can take these losses all the way through PvE and just hope that the Zeri pops up. At level 9, it should eventually, but the earlier the better, Khroen.
Yeah, that Zeri is falling off a little bit right now. The front line, even though it's 4 bodyguard, was pretty easily dealt with by Peebo's Draven there. Still 35 HP. Andros goes out in 6th. Very, very close to our top 4. Rolling is happening, as well as recycling this Darius, at least. Might put this Darius back in, but giving all these items over to Leona, who is certainly going to be a lot better with them.
Especially with the Deb on air. What do you think happens when Deb's on ground?
When Deb is on ground, I'm unprepared for that one. I don't know. I hoped I would get to something witty enough, but I've failed you, Boop, and I'm sorry.
You should be sorry.
Yeah,
Mercurial still looking for that Zeri. The Zyra ult, though, in the front line, stopping up every single person, giving the Zeri some time. But unfortunately, Zeri deciding to take a visit to the back line of Connor is me. And Connor running that Warwick, a couple units falling. So we should still have some time. Hypnoticus also waiting for a potential top 4. We do have the top 4 as Connor, Mercurial, Peebo, and Hypnoticus.
There we go. Top 4, as you mentioned. Connor is me. Gets a death cap, which I think is actually one of the better items you could have gotten here, minus things like a Shroud or another Zephyr, because Connor has binary. So this set death cap goes on the Seraphine. She can utilize it pretty well, right? And gets another free item. Connor in a great spot. I said, right, this is a really good good point for Connor. Had the items with this Twitch rolled down to the appropriate number of gold at 3-1 and has translated that into a top 4. And I think actually Twitch reroll has gotten bottom 4 a couple of times previously, so nice to see a bit of a change here.
I think itemization a little bit better for this Twitch in particular. We do have enough gold for the Seraphine if we want to sell the Echo.
Still needs the upgrade though, so yeah.
Yeah, still needs the Echo upgrade, but we probably make it another round at 14 HP, especially with this team comp. So we're probably good to go. We locked anyway, so we're feeling good about picking up the Seraphine next round. Positioning for the Twitch actually very, very good. As you say, the Zephyr good as well. And we should be able to take down this backline here soon. Look at this ult going to rip through that backline potentially from that Twitch. No, it's actually the Twitch that falls because of these the Silco blowing up the Braum in that front line. That was a big turnaround. That Twitch had an opportunity. Unfortunately, it was blown away by these by the Silco.
Yep, unfortunate there. Connor still making the top 4. Hey, maybe should have sold that Echo upgrade to the Seraphine, right? Wouldn't think you would lose with that board, or at least lose hard enough to die. Unfortunate. Moving over to Peebo. Still VIP Draven. Not the best items, right? These are Deathblade, Hodge. They're kind of meh. It was making it work.
Just like Peebo likes to do. And so the it's actually intriguing how much Deathblade I've been seeing recently. Not even just on re-rolled units, because it tends to work better on tier 3 units, but just to enhance items like Giant Slayer or Infinity Edge to give it just a higher stat line to work off of. Yep. There is no Last Whisper or Giant Slayer on the Draven, so that might be the biggest issue right now. But it actually doesn't seem like there are ultra tanky units on any of these comps right now, so we might be able to get away with it.
Hypnoticus with these twin shots, right? Lucian 3 and this Corki triple items. Can they do enough damage? The Draven doesn't heal enough from the Hodge. The peel from Syndra comes too late. Ebo loses 2 twin shots. Does find a Silco upgrade, however.
Oh, and we did get to the Zeri 2.
Zeri 2.
It's finally here. It took literally all game, but we finally got here. We've probably had it for a couple rounds now, knowing that we do have the 2-round win streak. The IE Giant Slayer, Runin, such a great itemization for any long distance AD. Loving the Giant Slayer just in general, should be helping things against even just the Lucian on the twin shots, right? Because all tier 3 units are going to suffer the percent damage increase because of the Giant Slayer. Our Giant Slayer is going to be doing a little bit more than theirs in this particular matchup, as on Zeri versus Lucian.
Double Giant Slayer and Hypnoticus's board. It's going to be great in taking on the front line. Zeri, how much can she do? She's dashing around. She's going to have that bonus discharge electricity activated for the whole round because she's VIP. And it might be enough. No more damage left on Hypnoticus's board. Board goes down, does go out. It's going to be a 1v1 now.
Yep, death by 1,000 paper cuts is still death. And Zeri is the definite case of that, right? That's why kiting is so important in League of Legends, right? If they can't touch you, it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing to them. Eventually, it's going to be enough, right? Yep. So it's all about making sure that the Zeri's positioning is good to go. And now that we have the Zeri 2, of course, we're seeing a bunch of Zeris in packs. That's how it works.
This is interesting, actually. Mercurial with that Debonair emblem pickup gets a Silco 2 and has the option to run 5 Debonair, which he does take immediately. Takes out the Jace, which is fine. I don't think you need Enforcer into Peebo's comp, but the extra stats from Debonair might be the difference here. When this was just a Zeri 1, Peebo was winning, but now it's a Zeri 2. I think it's going to be a different story here, Boop.
Yep, and it's all about the positioning on the Zeri. Is Zeri going to be able to get through to that Draven? Yes, we do have some backline access. I believe we got CC'd, though. We're going to start going again, another bout of CC, and that is going to be it for the Zeri. And now the only thing we can hope for is some Silco shenanigans to ruin our own team. But since we have a Silco, it is not going to be the case. This is the most amount of auto attacks you'll have ever seen a Silco do, as we're potentially on last round territory. I think we are at 10 HP versus 6. Mercurial can win this. if we don't get CC'd. And that's why our, QSS Warwicks from earlier were doing so well. We didn't have to worry about it.
Unfortunate situation. I think when it comes to the front line for Mercurial, is never able to find a Braum 2. That would have been big and probably a reason that Mercurial could have considered, dropping a Darius 1 and a Blitzcrank 2. Darius 1 feels so bad to run right now. Even with this Banshees, the Zeri still getting CC'd. I believe got disarmed by the Quinn and then got CC'd by Braum. Can happen again.
Okay, so we do finally get a couple people from the back line. The CC not that bad with the Zeri, and it looks like the Zeri is going to get the Draven. Made it a little complicated there because of the Silco, but that's the difference between CC versus no CC on your carry, my friends.
And with that, Mercurial Boop goes first. Triple first. Fight Night Rising history is being made once again. This time with the new Fight Night format as we move over to Lobby B, which 6 people are still alive.
Yeah, this has happened in Lobby B. Lobby B seems ultra competitive throughout. This is the third time now we've moved to Lobby B and having such a very small split near 4th place. 3 people fighting for 1 spot in that top 4. Lumi Kev wants a top 8 finish to move into the second round. We had a lobby win in the first lobby and then in 8th place, so we just need a good position here. We can't bottom out, but a 6th place is still possible. As Yippee Mount Kaye is the board that we're going to be riding along with first, and we're going Sivir versus Vex pretty much right now.
Yeah. Yippee Mount Kaye is a very, very fascinating board. It is just twin shots, but with double trouble, so it's going to have multiple copies of units on the board. Have a chance to digest exactly what is on this board again here in a second. Has a couple Gangplanks, has a couple Lucians, a couple Vex as well. This to find the Lucian 3. That'd be a huge upgrade.
Yeah, this augment, I think, works very well with twin shots.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at this point in the game, it really starts falling behind because, again, you only have one option for a front line, and that is whatever you choose for that option, which is the Vex. Right now, we picked Arcanus because we got the Spat. We don't have the secondary option for the Corki. We're picking the Lucian and the Gangplank instead.
Apparently a twin shot Arcanist build is actually something that is run, I wouldn't say really frequently, but it's not uncommon in China actually. But that's a bit different of a variant. It is not, going to be double trouble. This is a close round, by the way. The Vex can make this happen. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, every time she goes to a room, though, the ult doesn't work. No, this should be the Vex one more auto attack. Or not?
One more auto attack.
One more auto attack?
One more.
Okay, there we go. That is almost an elimination. That would have been awful to be eliminated off that round.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. But as I was saying before that fight got way too close, this is a build, well, not exactly with the double trouble, right? But with just twin shots Arcanist, it can have 4 twin shot, 4 Arcanist, and then actually benefit from like a little bit of a scrap Hextech and Yordle package as well, and be centered around those 3 costs, around Vex, Gangplank, Lucian, and actually features Malzahar as well. It is a bit different here. The Arcanist only comes through because there is an Arcanist emblem on the Corki. But see how far that can go. And if Yippee Mount Kaye is able to get that Lucian 3, only was 1 off, and I think everything else was upgraded. Moving over to Goofy. Yet another Warwick board, Boop.
I think this is... Has Goofy ran this Warwick before? I feel like maybe
so.
In Lobby 2 or Lobby 1. But those are best in slot for Warwick. And stackable items for Tryndamere are perfect for the Warwick. You got to have the Zeeks. I like at least 1 Zeeks on the Tryndamere. Since you don't necessarily need a sword for the Warwick, you can invest it into the Zeeks, for example, which normally would be kind of hard to use your sword for that reason, right? You want to do it for Night or Giant Slayer, but in this comp, you don't need either of those items for the Warwick. But you might have needed them for this round, as that is what you call a demolishing, folks, as Maki is going to fall in 5th place. Oh, and we do have a double elimination. We have a top 3. This is looking like a next the Yippee Mount Kaye lobby, but Goofy here might be a little bit of a spoiler, but not if we lose as hard as we did that last game.
Yeah, this is a solid third for Goofy here. I say the phrase a lot, but it's about as far as you expected to get with a board like Warwick Reroll. Not going to be unhappy about it. And yeah, I mean,
that's why this comp is so good if you're climbing, by the way, right? You lock in the Warwick reroll, you're gonna top 4 most of the time. And so if you're climbing, this is a very good comp to do it with. Though if you don't hit, you're gonna, like, those 3rd and 4th places that you're getting are all gonna get eliminated by 7th or 8th. So in terms of a 20 out of 20, I actually think this is a moderately good option if you want to climb, as this QSS already finding an enormous amount of value at the beginning of the round, though this Alistar with this portable forge item, the Anima Visage, is going to be enough to eliminate Goofy. That Warwick was unable to do anything against the Alistar, even though it avoided 2 ultimate cycles.
Hey, another 8 Hextech board. Not going to have a first aid, nor keepers, however. It does have portable forge, it does have phalanx as well, which is why everything is in the back 2 rows. But also is level 9 and has a tactician's crown. This is a really strong from Nexty. 7 win streak, likely to keep that streak going.
And I believe this is the augment that increases your power permanently, right? If you're a hex tech.
Which one?
No, the first. I'm going crazy.
Oh,
I'm
I think
sorry.
it's just back. I think it's back.
Yeah, that is just a back foot. Anyway, whew, my brain. I've been looking at a lot of TFT, my friends. As 51 HP now for next the Alistar. You're seeing how much easier it was to fall on this particular round. So much raw damage, and this is the second time we've seen a twin shot board find some pretty big success.
Yeah, very interesting actually. Next, they took a big loss there. It's not often you see a board that's level 9 and having a Tactician's Crown losing at this point, especially with a chase trait. Still needs to find upgrades. Next, he still is on Vi 1. There's a couple other 1-cost units as well, but this just goes to show the power of Double Trouble. There are copies of every single unit on the board. Literally every single one. There's basically just playing 4 units, but they all have their copies in. It's so good. It's so strong. They just do so much damage. Just like watching these fights, like just how much this Lucian, this GP does. It's disgusting, frankly.
Yeah, I'm actually super stoked to be saying this because this is probably the comp I saw the least of over the last week. So it's really cool that people are starting to like finalize exactly how you want to run this. Double Trouble is a really good option for any twin shot build, but since we also have the Arcanist to go along with it, everyone also gonna get even more AP. But look at this Sivir go. That is actually a lot better than I had ever anticipated this Sivir to ever do, as it's going to be a win for NXT and the Sivir comp. So we have alternated 1-1 right now, which means that this is a close matchup, though Yippee Maokai A pushing to 9 when we hit stage 7, most likely.
Yes, definitely. It's funny, as soon as I sing the praises of this comp, it gets beat in the round after. Unfortunate.
Classic caster curse.
I know. I usually dodge those, actually. It doesn't usually come through, but I'm not immune to them, it seems.
No one is.
No one is, indeed.
Not a single person. And we have a good utility on this front line too. I mean, to get Vex, 2 of them with items on it in the front line here. Vex is one of the best tanks in the game with the right itemization, and we also get a little bit of extra AP, but this is the second time the Sivir's targeting has been very good. So that's a kill on the Lucian and the Gangplank, one right after another, and with the same result, a 2-unit loss from Yippee Maokai. We know for a fact that things need to change now if that is only just positioning.
One thing is going to change for sure, and that's leveling up to 9 and running a 5th twin shot. That is Jinx. She has already been found. That's going to up this power level very intensely, I guess. Not the best word, but it's going to make that a lot stronger of a board, is what I'm trying to say. And Yippee Maokai is going to, make more improvements to the board than Nexty. Nexty got pretty lucky, I think, in that last fight, and toward the Alistar CC'd the Gangplank and the Lucian at the same time, which are Yippee Maokai's most important units. So Yippee goes level 9. Gets to roll it down as well, actually, to try to find the Jinx too. Probably not going to hit. Has one more roll, and no, it doesn't hit. That's fine. Just having the Jinx in for the 5th twin shot going to, again, make this board a lot stronger. Frozen Heart as well. If Jinx can actually get that ult off and slowly attacks me to the Sivir, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely something that you're going to get value out of, right? Only if you get that ult off. Just like putting it on an assassin like Echo. It's just a little worse. So the Gangplank going to walk up into the Sivir again, but not get taken down as quickly. Actually, the Gangplank should be able to turn around here pretty quick, and does. The Sivir falls. That is a huge turnaround there, as that is going to make this a 20-8 2 lives for Yippee if enough units survive versus the 1 for Nextly.
Couple big differences in that fight. One was the 5th twin shot, another was the Gangplank just having free access to the backline there. Has not happened in the previous 2 fights. Still could go either way, Boop. Don't think it's over yet.
Okay, not over yet, but surely will be after this round. Will Yippee Maokai be able to finish things off here? 20 HP, I believe, also had an 8th place, so a win here would be enormous. Even the Corki on the side, on like the unitemized Corki, doing a ton of damage. The Jinx doesn't even need to ult. Yippee Maokai lands the lobby win.
Lands lobby win with 5th twin shot with the double trouble. What a fascinating augment, right? Because without that augment, you would never see a board with only like 4 individual, units in there. And I guess, a 5th in with that Jinx eventually, but you just have their copies in because it makes them so much stronger. It's just really fascinating to see players pilot those kind of niche playstyles, but super well and get the first place with them.
That's probably the most double trouble comp we've ever had in Fight Night. That's, I think, the max power of what you're supposed to see, minus the Jinx too, right? And we didn't even need it, honestly, but the extra damage getting into that 5 twin shot was enough to bring us over the edge, because, once that Jinx locked in, we were winning by 4 or 5 units in round 7, which is literally unbeatable.
Pretty unbeatable, it seemed like there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scores and see who did find their way into that top 8. Mercurial, of course, got the 1-1-1. Absolutely on fire right now. Peebo was able to have another good game, actually, a top 2. Nauticus and Connor is me. Round out the top 4 in Lobby A. Lobby B, we got a lot of time to see, actually, how Lobby B unfolded as well. But yeah, Yippee Maokai did take the lobby win. Next, he got 2nd, Goofy 3rd, and Lumi Kev in 4th.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the eliminations, and Lumi Kev going to be the last person to qualify, 3-rate high for 17 points. Then Yippee Maokai, Peebo, Haru Kawamaki, Goofy, and Mercurial at 30 points, an 8-point buffer. Unfortunately, we are losing, I believe, 2 of our top 4 from last week, being Kandrew and Wizard, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you are correct. Kandrew and Wizard both played really, really well, but that happens when it comes to 16-player lobbies, Boop. There's high variance, you gotta say goodbye to half of them. As, we're gonna move into just a top 8 situation, and I think this is probably the biggest point gap that we've had between 1st and 8th going to the finals, because no one has gone 1-1-1 before with this format, as Mercurial has. So there is a lot of catching up to do, but of course, with the finals, point values are doubled, so it's going to make things really, really crazy, Boop. What are you looking forward to? Based off of trends that we've seen so far, we've seen a lot of reroll, probably more than I expected, but do you expect to see more of the same moving into the finals?
I think so. I think we're going to see a little bit more Warwick. We definitely seem to have a couple Warwick favorers in the chat right now. We've gotten to see a couple twin shot builds, but mostly people playing flexibly until they have to lock in. And I think that's why we're seeing some slower lobbies so far with this group. But now that we've got the top 8, things might start speeding up, and I'm curious to see where the tempo of this lobby is going to go, especially with Mercurial walking into the final with a perfect score.
Definitely likewise as well, but we're going to have to go to a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we return, we will have the final lobby, top 8 of Fight Night Rising. Welcome back, everybody, to Fight Night Rising. We have reached the point where we are in our final lobby. Top 8. These players have grinded 3 games to get to. 2 more are on the table, Boop. The point values are doubled. Huge point gap already between Mercurial and the rest, because Mercurial has just had such a fantastic day. Triple first, literally record pacing. We're gonna have new records for terms of point totals. I don't even know what the point total record is at for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and look it up. But I mean, Mercurial absolutely on fire.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has top 2 the last 2 lobbies even. So I think there's actually some room when it comes to this record personally. But also, this is the lobby where most people, get their foot stuck in quicksand, right? This is the lobby that a lot of people drop the game-winning, easy fly ball, right? It is all about getting that last signature, getting your John Hancock on the win, right? And making sure that you're able to actually finish what you started. And so far, I don't think anyone has coming into this 4th lobby. I think the person coming into the lobby, last 2 lobbies in first place, has won before, but no one has entered this 4th lobby or come out of it completely unscathed.
4th lobby curse is a real thing, Boop, around these parts, and might have to be worried about that. Also, the lobby, or not the lobby, but the record holder for top points with this version of Fight Night Rising is actually Yiggles. She's in the lead with 56 points. Definitely on pace is Mercurial to beat that, right? If they get 2 firsts, I guess the max amount of points you can get with this format is 70. That's a lot. 56, still a hard number to achieve, however.
Yeah, and again, that's why it is doable, I think, today, because Yiggles did not win all 3 lobbies. I believe she won 2 lobbies got like a 2-2, got like a 2-2-1 or a 1-2-2 type of situation there, or 1-1-2. I feel like I'm like summoning some type of AI by doing that. But yeah, we probably are going to see the points get broken if Mercurial plays as well as they have been playing all through today. Because it's been kind of a walk in the park for Mercurial, to be honest with you. The Lobby A has been everyone other than Mercurial seeming to fighting for the start, as Lobby B was traditionally a lot closer. Now all of them are mixed up. Let's see if Mercurial is going to be able to have a similar type of experience, and we are going to start riding along with Mercurial.
We are. Game number 4. Mercurial has been so dominant thus far. But like you mentioned earlier, Boop, this is a new combination of players in this lobby. Lobby dynamic is going to be different. The amount of people maybe favoring, one playstyle or one comp over another is going to be different. Mercurial has to adjust, right? All of the players have to adjust. That could be throwing a wrench in some people's plans. A little bit too early to tell. But we'll start to see trends as this game does get further underway. Mercurial gets dropped a cloak to pair with that belt. Not a fantastic item opener. But there is a direction of, some innovators. Of course, you pick them up every time. Singed Ezreal.
Yeah, it's just so intriguing to me how I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Not good innovators have been for some of our players throughout today and throughout a lot of fight nights. They did very well. I think I saw Twitch win a lobby or 2 over the weekend, but throughout fight night, innovators actually are the first things that seem to get pushed off. The answer here is obviously so small for everyone in the chat. No. Makeshift Armor, Blue Battery are like 2 the best augments to get in the early game. So small only if you're trying to be spicy. The other 2, Makeshift Armor becomes a dead augment at the end of the game. Blue Battery is always going to be generally pretty good, but the extra 35 armor and magic resist is a free defensive item for everyone without an item.
So small, Boop. I'm with you. Pick it, Mercurial. Let's go. No, not gonna be that. And it does get rewarded. Makeshift Armor does synergize very well with Innovator because the Mechanical Scarab does benefit from those resistances. Having the 3 online already is very, very good. Pairs up some of the Innovators as well. Really, really good opener. Let's see what item. This item actually could be indicative of a lot, but it's actually going to be gold instead, so we can sell to 10. That's maybe even better. Definitely better. Wow, we just get it since Ezreal every single shop. Okay, sick.
And a Twitch. to give us a little bit of direction. I would love some of our innovator players to drop the Twitch and go into some other directions. I saw some really interesting builds when it came to late game innovators over the week. Irelia was a common one. Kha'Zix happened a couple times, right? We saw Sivir actually do okay even today. So Twitch isn't the end all be all, as I believe it's only happened in the top 4 once so far today in all of the lobbies that we've seen.
Indeed. Goofy on the other side. A couple of Malzahars already. Does have funny front line. I wonder what the mutant is. Maybe it is going to be that, was it Voracious Appetite? The Dark Star and a mutant there. That would be really, really good pairing. Might be a committal to these mutants.
I'm seeing a lot less mutants than I had anticipated today as well. We've seen 0.
True. We started off with them.
Yeah, we've seen 0 Ari comps as well
so
far today. Even though we've seen some AP direction, it's all been towards the Malzahar. We haven't even seen people push into Victor for Arcanists. So basically, I think if you run AP, you're probably going to be uncontested. That's a legitimate strategy. When it comes to these games. If you remember Vel'Koz, getting Vel'Koz 3 was a win condition in a previous set because other people just didn't go Vel'Koz in that lobby. So it could be the same thing for Ari, but it looks like we're looking at syndicates and snipers here. We already saw Ashe win a lobby today with the reroll Ashe. It was an IE, QSS, and a Last Whisper.
I think there was only, from what I'm remembering from today's competition, only one other AP direction, and it was Harukawa with a triple chalice that did find its way onto like an Ori and Seraphine.
That's right, and a Seraphine.
Yeah,
that's right. It top forward.
It barely, but but yes, it did. AP, maybe not quite in the best spot. However, at least these players in this lobby are not willing to go that direction. I think it's unlikely that over 3 games we see literally 0 Ari as a primary focus. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between an ultimate that is a straight line and not, I think is what you're seeing right now. If you really think of some of the other 4-cost units that function in that same place in the past, Aurelion Sol, Lux are the ones that come into question, but with those straight line ults, they always hit, right? There's no space to miss unless they dodge it, right? With Ari, that is not the case. Even though you might throw 5 orbs, sometimes only one of them hit. Right, but you see it with Ashe too. She's not the only unit that does that. Ashe sometimes will ult after the unit that she just was targeting dies and just ult the wrong direction. Right, so it can happen to anybody, but with Ari on a 4-cost, it just hurts even more when you see an otherwise potential round win if the orbs were just connected. Right?
Exactly. Oh, Ari. Well, might not be seeing that happen at all. Let me Kev. 4 snipers. Stage 2. I don't think we've seen that before in Fight Night.
No, and the only time I've ever seen this, it was a reroll sniper by New Bowel, and I think the build is triple Shojin's Caitlyn. Wait. If you want to do it, is what New Bowel was doing. He had a
Caitlyn carry.
Yeah, triple Shojin's Caitlyn with a Shojin's as well on Misfortune, I believe is what was happening there. And that Misfortune actually ripped through some people all the way to 6th place. Sorry. But yeah, actually, if the Caitlyn was able to actually do what it was supposed to do and New Bowel wasn't trapped with Sniper's Nest, we were able to move around a little bit. I actually think the Caitlyn would have worked a little bit better. But it was still 6th place in a very big tournament over the weekend, so mad props to even running that. And we actually did end up winning with Jhin, so a similar comp might have actually been successful later on in the tournament.
Yep. Mutants are online for Goofy right now. Get to see actually what that mutant buff is throughout the course of the fight. Still on, it's bio-leeching we actually get notified of, so gonna be a bit of healing. Not as good as what the Voracious Appetite, the Dark Star, could have been with his phony front line, but that's okay.
All right, so the Giant Slayer going to help things like the Bramble. Bramble, just not really as common as before. Good, just general armor item, but it's not blocking as many crits as before. But with as much AD as we've been seeing in today's lobby, having it for its stats and whatever crits it does take down is going to be just as valuable as 3 of these units, one having a Giant Slayer still on the Leona. And while Goofy is going to win, they definitely made you wait for it.
Yeah, a little bit. Both Malzahar is doing pretty similar damage, even though one has Giant Slayer. 1400 and about 1600 on there. That's why it's sometimes correct to run double, units, right? It could have a Swain in instead for, for Arcanist, and actually is going to fully pivot to 4 Arcanist here, so just making sure this board is as strong as it can be, thinking that 4 Arcanist is stronger than 3 Mutant, and I actually might be inclined to agree with this one.
It's because it's bio-leeching. If it was another mutant augment, it might be different. Even if it was a cybernetic mutant augment, I'd probably go towards mutants. But with this particular spot, we just saw both Malzahars do equal amount of damage pretty much. This is, I think, a better option. You're going to maximize even more damage from the Malzahar that you know is guaranteed, along with extra damage for all of the Arcanists there, as Ziggs actually gets a pretty good ult off to help butter up that back line. Swain, with like no health, getting taken down by the Kate. That's worst case scenario for a Caitlyn.
That was just such a tragic fight for Lumi Kev, because as soon as the Zyra ulted, the backline of Goofy all walked forward. So the Zyra ult hit nobody, not stunning, not dealing any damage, and it was honestly kind of a close fight at the end there. That one Zyra stun could have made a world of difference, but unlucky. That's the way the fight goes sometimes.
There it is. That's Peebo. Yeah, that's the Peebo leg. I sit that way all the time, actually. It's really weird. I really like being like in my chair. Like just like the chair's consuming me.
I feel like you're mostly out of the chair at that. Maybe maybe not. Actually, you're leaning back into it. The leg is up. The posture is doomed, right? But
it's not a house. It's only a house until it's a home, right? And I think when you sit in the chair like that, it becomes a home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It means it's familiar and homey. Anyway, Peebo putting the leg down. Take things a little bit more seriously, waiting for the Peebo leg energy for a little later in the game. We actually are coming in with a pretty good score. I believe we're in the top 4. We're going to go ahead and use our tome right away.
Okay, Bodyguard's not bad.
Yeah, and I've actually seen this tome miss a lot more because remember there was that change in that last patch. So even if you do wait around, you're still less likely to hit what you need. And you're going to get offer choices that you can use because there are a good amount of splashes in this particular set. But, we could have wanted something a little bit more substantial than a Bodyguard emblem. But Bodyguard's really good, especially on Vex, right? We get to start with that shield, and we are going to be able to get to our ults a little bit more frequently. And Vex always functions better, just like any other character. More ults, the better.
More ults, the better indeed. Yeah, Vex, with that, is able to get another one off and takes down one more unit. Not the most difference there. Arakawa on the other side is on a win streak, does have very, very good items actually in the self-repair. This might be some innovator flex, right? This IE Last Whisper combo likely to go over to a Jhin, but I think we did see one board earlier that was a Sivir carry along with the innovators, so doesn't just mean you have to play Jhin with innovators as a carry. There's still other options. Could be Irelia as well, actually. We'll see a bit later.
Where's this going?
This comp from Peebo?
Yep.
Great question. It's gonna be something backline focused, right? There's that back foot there. Things units want to be in the back couple of rows. Could be, actually, like I just mentioned, a Jhin. It could be a Sivir. Could be a Draven, I think, as well. Actually, might be one of the leading options, just because that is going to be running a Leona plus a Braum. You can fit a Blitzcrank in and then run 4 bodyguards pretty easily. That would probably be on the front of people's mind right now.
This Ezreal, I have counted, has attacked about 15 times with ults along the way, and we are barely halfway through the Leona. We finally get through it, and this is when the rest will fall really, really quickly. Can the rest of the team do enough damage to the backline in time? And the answer is going to be yes. The Ziggs. Oh, that would have been a basket.
Yeah, hit it in between everything
right
there.
In the middle of the circle, yeah.
Exactly. Wow, Ziggs so good.
Best unit in the game. Thrill of the Hunt, Featherweights, Archangel's Embrace.
Probably just Thrill.
Yeah, it's the easiest to use. And 700 health is a lot, especially at this point in the game when you're using units like Lucian, too, that are pretty good at executing units. That could be the case. The Archangel's Embrace is actually not bad for this team comp, but is just not as consistent in terms of the top end as I think you want it to be. You're probably actually going to get more value out of raw health at this point in time with these units than you would have the Archangels.
So, Angel's not going to be the choice here. Debonair VIP Leona, but we already have Leona too. Not going to really change anything. Renata in the shop. No items for her though, so I'm not going to do the pivot. Oh, Lucian actually getting second road to fit in that Socialite Hex. I mean, sure, Leona in there is not going to really do a whole lot. Lucian can dash backwards, kind of peel for himself, so I do think I like this decision. EP Maokai didn't have the best stage 2, but has actually found some bit of a win streak here in stage 3. Seraphine really, really nice actually healing up that Leona because she has a lot of staying power, as you mentioned. Ezreal's are going to be hitting that Leona for so long. She's taking redemption. She's going to get healed, maybe buffed up by Lulu as well. This board just works really well together.
That's why you don't build IE. Like, I think the second you see someone build Bramble, I'm going Giant Slayer. It's funny because it used to be Giant Slayer versus Last Whisper, but right now the IE is something that I've seen people building less and less of. Still a very good item, right? We saw an IE do really well against a lot of units without Giant Slayers, but we've gotten to see it with the Brambles, and it's just not going to work, right? Even with the Last Whisper, it was not enough. That's why I think on Jhin, why you have the Last Whisper and Giant Slayer is for that specific situation that we just saw. But Leona still needs to get to, that high health total and hopefully get taken down by some percent health because it is not going to be happening in those crits.
Definitely not. It is an early Leona too. I guess that's why we're seeing her actually have so much value right now with 2 really good items. IE, talking about that item, it is one that a lot of players will just slam in this meta. But yeah, people are building Bramble very often. It does not get as much value as it otherwise would in other lobbies. But being first pick, Yippee Maokai gets a Draven, gets 1 step closer to running Debonairs, and if they're fortunate, will get a VIP Draven, and this will be a very, very strong comp. Not going to need any healing on this Draven, that's because the Thrill of the Hunt. Yeah, actually already is going to pivot this Rage Blade over to him. So this is really, really good. Pairing this with a Giant Slayer plus something like a Last Whisper or, i.e. Deathblade, anything like that would be really, really good.
Man, this Leona really showing the should be the MVP right now
on
this comp. Has been able to eat a couple ultimates and the redemption and the shielding. It all seems to be happening right at the perfect time. That's the second time redemption has saved this Leona from perishing and does create enough time for the Draven to get 1 unit. But that Zyra ult, so good. Zyra can do a little bit of Ziggs cosplay, but is a little bit more consistent with it and does CC and win the round out for Lumi there.
Only win streak player right now is Goofy, looks like, at 94. Do have a player 107 HP, of course. Lumi Kev grabbing that Tiny Titans augment. Mercurial at 99. Oh, I think actually as well got Tiny Titans. Wow, okay. Couple of Tiny Titan gamers.
Lots of people getting offered Tiny Titans second and third. I feel like it just all of a sudden started happening recently, but it's so good second and third. I think you can make the argument that it's better than Metabolic in stage 2. I think that would be a very, for some people, pretty intense argument, but you get all of the HP at once, right? Which I think is a lot easier to use. You get all of your context at the same time versus having to squeeze it out round by round. This Draven is starting to ramp up, and you're already seeing the difference between having a front line and not. Here with this tier 1 Draven versus this Leona in the world. So much power on this Leona, and even with the Giant Slayer, the tier 2 Malzahar still unable to break through.
Leona really, really is the MVP, Boop. I'm 100% with you on that regard. Just allows so much time for the Draven. He only has a Rage Blade, so he needs to ramp up. That's really his only source of dealing damage, and he can do it every time. Moving over to Hyperspace. A little bit of a weak comp right now, but still 64 HP is respectable. Farming a lot of econ as well, with playing Yordles, of course. Morellos, IE. Jhin pivot is a possibility. Hyperspace is kind of hovering Jhin in the shop, but not committing to buy it right now. Also has Thrill of the Hunt, actually. Could go Draven. It really depends on what happens in this roll down, I think. Or if they are going to roll down at level 7, it might just be greeting into level 8.
We have the time, right? With 64 HP, no one really absolutely destroying the lobby. You would assume that someone like Lumi or Mercurial are, but those are Tiny Titans players, so those might actually be one of the weaker compositions on the board right now. We have Piba going to level 7 at 4-1, super common, but Hyperspace already there, right? So we could greed out even further through stage 4. The comp that we have is going to lose through stage 4, but how much, if we do decide to lose streak through this, we'll probably end up at the PvE round around like 20 or 30 HP. That might be worth it as we streak throughout the entirety of it. We're already over 50 gold. That means we hit level 8, potentially with 50 gold or more to roll down with.
Yep. Looking at Yumi using Ashe, not as a reroll, I wouldn't think, but more as an item carrier. Looks a bit awkward maybe because they are still level 6. I mean, I don't know. They might reroll from this position. Don't have to, of course. There's Jin on the bench. It could just be a pivot. Definitely are going to be a little bit off pace when it comes to econ, however. But hey, the HP is there.
HP, though, is becoming a less valuable part of your economy. At this point in time, you lose so much HP by the time you go to stage 4 that everything that you've banked from earlier on becomes even more valuable. When you lose that, that's when things become even shakier as we pick up a Kha'Zix, but we also end up putting in our Debonair.
Yep, getting Draven too. Finding a Zeri. Yeah, you can just stop rolling here. You can stay on 30 gold and probably push 9 from this position, actually, because there is Orianna 2, Lulu 2, actually, 2/2/2 Enchanters. That's really nice. Unfortunately, not really getting any value out of the Socialite Hex. Just has a Camille 1 in there, but hey, still, these are strong upgrades, and still having 30 gold. Big.
Ooh, Assassin Irelia, my favorite version, but we went IE, and you're already seeing, like again, and we get stuck, right? And we're going up against Draven. This comp is already pretty difficult for the Irelia to go through, but man, Bramble, good item against IE. Like, the second I feel like you see someone with an IE, you can almost guarantee that if you two are the last, that you're going to have the advantage going into that 1v1. And that's what I'm talking about with people like Nuval, understanding other people's, pressure points and tempos on their boards, right?
Yep.
Able to push that even further, as we're seeing Yippee Maokai do right now with the Bramble Vest, that with this Leona has gotten an insane amount of value because there's also no AP. So you're getting a ton of armor along with no crits versus, like 1 AP board, I think is what I've seen.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although a unit like Jin is actually pretty good because as well as it, having the last Whisper, able to pierce some of that armor, just with inherently his kit, right? Just pierces through into the back line. See what angle. Jin is going to have a pretty solid angle right here, hitting to the Draven of VP Maokai, but the thrill of the hunt, diff. Draven keeps on healing back up, Challenger procs, and even though he has to run forward, is going to be able to make it through that Jin board, even though it was so strong looking, actually.
Yeah, the Jin actually doing a pretty good job going up against the Leona, but I think Leona actually got a kill there as well, getting
really? I didn't
getting some extra health with a redemption boost too, and the redemption boost does help with the Jin ult. So we do stay up in the front line a little bit longer. That's just a 2-item Leona carrying us pretty much through stage 4. Of course, the Draven helps, but the Draven is not enabled without this Leona. What item are we going to go after, though, as this lobby is starting to tighten up? The top 2 players most likely have been losing through stage 4, but they have 95 and 86 HP, respectively, which is a lot.
Yeah, Bo is a solid option here. If nothing else, they can go into a Shiv, right, if we don't get another item component, but we still could. From the Raptors, taking a look at Pibo's position here, it's going to be... He was so funny in what he does sometimes. There's Orianna 2 on the bench and actually gets sold. See what else comes through here. Still need that Irelia 2. Jace is a fantastic unit to put on the board. But for a scrap, for a bodyguard, definitely not the most, I would say, likely comp to see. Is going to, drop some of those scraps. Going to take out that Ziggs. But it's going to be an Irelia Socialite composition. But, we're lacking a lot of Irelias.
That's a pretty important part of an Irelia composition, I would say so myself.
Yep.
And the thing about this Irelia is it's assassin, so theoretically it shouldn't get caught on any frontliners, but you also need to kill them in order to start getting those Blade Surge resets, and we just aren't able to do that. And this
True.
is another difference between no Bramble versus Bramble against Nai, right? But it looks like the Tom Kench has a Bramble now, so we have to defend against other IEs, which has made the item neutral through these couple rounds, which again is why I like the Giant Slayer.
You need to actually kill units to win rounds.
Whoa.
Evo gets offered some interesting items here. Cybernetics is going to be the choice, and I do like that, right? There's a lot of items spread around, 4 different units. That's half the board. Leona gonna be benefiting from that a lot, but we really need to find some upgrades, right? Most of this board is tier 1. Just hit that Gnar upgrade. Only upgrade in that previous round was the Gnar. Rolling, rolling, rolling. So many pairs, not hitting any of them. Senna, that's 1.
At least we had the Camille to sell at that moment in time. That could have been
Irelia.
a little rough. We definitely want that Irelia. Hopefully we get a round win here to get it.
Yeah, I really wants the Jinx.
Well, we want the 4th scrap, which seems to be a lot of people to be kind of like the end of this comp, right? The 4th scrap's really good when it comes to the shielding as well. But the other thing you have to worry about too is Irelia getting mana locked here on the Socialite hags. So it's also going to jump into the back line, which avoids the first challenge, which is getting stuck on a frontliner. But the second challenge is getting that first kill.
See if Irelia can make it happen. Get stuck on some frontliners right now. Is going to be on the Morgana, but Morg gets another ult off here. Yes, and the CC comes through from the Braum. Irelia does make it through that, though, so is going to win the round. Ashe cannot do enough at this point. And Lumikev is indeed re-rolling for Ashe 3. Very far away, though. Is on Raptors and still needs 4 more Ashes. That is very, very behind pace.
Yeah, singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" to all those Ashes in the packs, because there's nothing that's going to stop him from getting to you, babe. As a Goofy now in second place at 63 HP, we had assumed that things would get a lot more even at this point in the game, and they have, as Goofy is running the AP comp of the lobby, which is still Malzahar. That comp actually hasn't gotten that much stronger since the last time we saw it, like around stage 2.
Interesting board here. I mean, it is going to be pushing level 8. 63 HP for this board is impressive. We find a Silco, which actually might find its way onto the board, but we're running like 3 Arcanists, don't have Syndicates, don't have Mutants. It's a little awkward, but it's going to be pivoting away from the Malzahar. I think it is going to be a committal to this Ahri. That's a triple Irelia shop. And here we go, Ahri 2. How do you put it in? Sell the Blitzcrank. There we go, our first Ahri player, Boop.
It has happened. The stars have aligned. Mercury's in retrograde. I think that's what that means. We also have the Giant Slayer on the Ahri along with the Jeweled Gauntlet. You want kind of flat damage along with the Giant Slayer, in my opinion. But Jeweled Gauntlet's all right for the moment in time. One more ult should actually help us a lot. We see, and that's Ahri for you, though. You turn to the right, you hit the Corki and Lucian. You probably win the round, but we didn't.
Definitely, man. So sad to see, right? Ahri, a cool unit, but you've already addressed, of course, her problems. And yeah, there are a lot of problems there. Silco gets sold. Already have 2 Scholars. X gets sold as well. A lot of changes into this board. 4 Syndicate. Want 5 Syndicate. That's kind of where the end game Ahri really shines. Make sure that she has enough lifesteal at that point.
I just like, man, unless the Ahri has that mutant buff sometimes, it's just too hard to get her to max level with, I think, this itemization. Even though it's a Jewel Gauntlet and in theory should work really well, I do think the flat damage from the Rabadons is better. But when you get Zyra ults like that, things can go your way if you are the Ahri. And we do get good ultimates that time around, and that's going to be a pretty easy win on that round. That's Ahri. Sometimes it just feels like a coin flip. You can put her in the second row, you can put her in the last row, and it really just kind of decides where she looks last.
Yeah. Favorable row, however. Hyperspace goes 8th here in our first final lobby. Oh, man. Can't hold on to everything. Had to make some cuts. Kev trying to find ashes. One more Ash. One more Morgana. One more roll. Let's see if we hit anything. Doesn't want to sell the Jins, though, it looks like.
Okay.
It has some HP to spare. Doesn't need to hit it this round, right? So.
Yep, we got the double gargoyles too in the front line, which is fancy.
Yeah.
We are also moving up against another syndicate board now, so it's going to be Ashe versus Ahri. This is another one of those, cool things about this set where it's the same comp with different carries. I think the Ahri is going to do quite a bit better than the Ashe, who seems to have ulted herself with this attack speed, is what it feels like. Literally attacking once every hour through with that Ashe. You want attack speed on her. The QSS was enough for the other round, but that was a tier 3 Ashe. So maybe just those stats moving into tier 3 are going to be the difference maker. We do have the Deathblade on her, so tier 3 is definitely the destination.
Definitely is. But taking a look at the right-hand side, Boop, I got 3 wards for you. They are 4th lobby curse.
Every time. It is. And again, full disclosure, this is something I made up, like literally my 4th week ever casting Fight Night, right? And then it just kept happening. And I don't know if it's like me just bringing, you've seen that movie where you like make up a curse and it becomes real.
Yep.
Right? Maybe that's what it is. But it happened again, folks, for what feels like the 30th week in a row. We do get the Ashe 3. We have the MF3 as well. And that's going to be really nice with the Shiv, actually. That should help with the Zyra ult and the Morgana ult. We actually saw that Zyra do very, very well against the backline of a previous comp. But this one's going to pull the Braum, actually help with an ultimate there. Everyone gets CC'd in the back. But no, Irelia 2 better than Irelia 1, folks.
Irelia 2 doesn't even get stuck onto this front line. Kev is going to take his 8th loss in a row. Tiny Titans can't save you for much longer, and a part of me died, it felt like, when I saw Kev sell 8 Morganas, or at least sell 5 of them, right, to be able to hit that Ashe 3, because so close. Morgana 3 is such a crucial upgrade in this composition. Just couldn't do it. Finally is able to push level 7, put the Jhin in for 4th sniper. Hopefully now with that, get first win in 8 rounds, 9 rounds even going on right now. Moving over to Peebo. Yeah, this is a strong looking Irelia.
Yeah, a little bit. Looking pretty good. New York Fashion Week might be the next stop for Irelia there with that fancy assassin cloak along with that Last Whisper IE. You're already seeing how much better this is once we get those resets. But now we have the CC, not enough damage at once. The thing about Irelia and any other carry that gets CC'd is you need, thanks Peebo, you need follow-up damage to help with that. But we're already passing our first test by avoiding the front line, and now we're even going to get faster attacks here with the Zeeks. Wherever that lands, we could do double redemption in the front line, as this is a triple dragon. Blue buff Rabadons. Too bad we already put that Jewel Gauntlet on that Ahri, in my opinion. But we also can start itemizing someone else at this point, as this is our 3rd blue buff. That is 6 total tiers. 4 of them were just ours regularly. But we have a 3rd completed blue buff going on, a convergence here for Goofy.
5 even, with the Chalice actually on the Syndra, and now with the Frozen Heart, that's going to be an 8th tier. a lot of tiers in this board for Goofy, but as you mentioned, unfortunately, that Death Cap can't go onto the Ahri. Itemizing the Orianna, though, is still going to be solid. What are we trying to roll to find here? I mean, Orianna upgrade, Braum upgrade are going to be some big ones. Including Zyra as well, actually. Not finding them. Frozen Heart is pretty good, and actually Peebo got a Frozen Heart as well, which fits onto a Braum. Hibauticus has one as well. Everyone has a Frozen Heart, it seems like.
It's a net neutral item now, right? Everyone just going to have the same attack speed at this point.
Everyone's attacking once every hour, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hypnoticus running twin shots again. This is the second time in a row we've seen Hypnoticus running twin shots, and this one might not be as successful. It's all up to Ari once again.
Ari,
who are you ulting? No!
This is why. That is example A about why Ari sometimes trolls you and you feel really bad and then you never want to run Ari again.
Oh, man. I cannot believe that just happened.
I can't.
Oh.
I love that emote, by the way.
Yeah, it just represents so much emotion in just a single word. But now we have the tier 2 Zyra, which should help. Rabadon's is really going to help, actually. At least get some of the HP in the back line or the front line, depending on who has more, to a level that we can take down. But this is looking like a pretty strong comp over at Yippee Malkaye's side. That is a tier 2 Kaisa, but that's the Rabadons right there in the back line. And it might actually come again. No, the Zyra falls. The second Zyra ult. I actually think the Zyra wins the round here.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a lot of damage with that death cap. I was, oof, okay. But no, Goofy is going to be eliminated. Is it going to be a top 4, however? Who's going to survive? Who's going to die? Ebo up against Hypnoticus. Okay, this is going to be elimination. And oh yeah, that's by a lot of units there. Hypnoticus is going out in 5th for sure. Making Goofy top 4 winner.
Top 4. And remember, Mercurial dropped the ball on this one.
Yep.
And so, I mean, this is really great for Maki and Yippee Malkaye, along with Peebo, who I believe are all on the upper half of the leaderboard coming into the top 8. We have another Innovator comp, that one with the Senna carry in the back line. We did drop the Twitch for this particular Innovator comp, and it did better. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Definitely. A lot of players. We've seen it today. We've seen it this past weekend as well. Running Twitch in a situation where you just don't have enough. You don't have the items at that time. You don't have enough Twitches to be able to really justify rerolling that comp. And it gets you into a bit of a trap. And then you go 6th and you're like, huh, how'd that happen? It's because of that. It's really just that. But this is doing a lot better. It is getting into the top 3. Even if it's not able to go any further, still a lot better. But now we see Peebo versus Yippee Malkaye beating for that first place here. Yippee Malkaye and Peebo both go for the Bramble. Such a good item. Who gets it?
Yeah, you see an IE, and a lot of people will wait for the Bramble until later, but we saw that Leona take rounds like no problem off of that itemization. And that's a personal opinion, but, you know, I'm going to say that it's fact at this point in time, as this is the 3rd 5-cost tier 2 unit on this board. That looks pretty strong.
Oh yeah, when did this Kaisa 2 get here? What the?
Yeah, that's going to help with our challenger, so our Draven's even stronger. And this Kaisa is not even a carry of any sort, as the only carry with like close to best in slot items is the Draven, and that's not even the case. So the Zeke's is going to help get our Rage Blade stacked even more, but we don't have an IE, so all of these Brambles that we're seeing not going to be a problem, and there is a Bramble on our opponent's side. Is it going to be that difference maker between Peebo? Remember, Peebo only has that 8 HP, and right now it's Snipers versus the world. Kaisa also helping. Wow, ring around the rosy, my friends, is Yippee Malkaye going to take the win.
That was actually surprising, I would say, in that last round. The Zeri, though, you mentioned earlier, you know, like on Summoner's Rift, you got a kite, and Zeri does perfect at that, is going to make distance between herself and Irelia. Irelia, if she doesn't get a reset, is melee unit. She has to run after the Zeri, giving Zeri the time to apply all that damage. Apply the Morellos, actually. I think Morellos is actually a really good Zeri item. She applies it so quickly when she ultimates. Shiv as well to reduce everyone's MR, give her a little bit of faster attack speed. Really well played by Yippee Malkaye to get the first place. And let's go ahead and with that, take a look at the scores, because boop, some spicy things are happening again after Mercurial goes out in 7th and Yippee Malkaye gets the first. Actually is going to be able to move into 1st overall on the night with just one more game to go. But it's still close, right? 3 people tied for 2nd place. Haru Kawamaki only 2 points behind that.
Yeah, Mercurial might be a magician because he made that lead disappear going into second place, and that is unfortunate. Also, probably one of the best turn phrases I've ever had in my casting career.
That's the favorite thing.
I'm gonna write that one down. You're gonna hear it on literally every cast I ever have from now on. But anyway, still, it still matters. I mean, 4 points is the second lowest you can get in Game 4, and you're already seeing the impact here because one person had a bad game. 7 people technically can still win today.
That's crazy. I'm still not over that. That's the favorite thing I've ever heard you say, Boop. I think.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I said it and I was like, okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like my 3 pairs on a good hand in this game thing. But
yeah, right?
It's even better than that. We're just having our good moments recently.
Yeah, I love it.
That's really good. Yeah.
That's why our D&D characters might be
having some
advancing
synergy.
the relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They might be having a little extra synergy in future campaigns. But
exactly. Working on it in game and out.
We're going into this last lobby with a very close spread of scores, one that I didn't expect to have coming into this final lobby, and that's what we're here for as viewers. If you're Mercurial, you're definitely stressed out, but literally every other person is pretty stoked about how the rest of this has turned out.
Definitely. Hey, top 4 gets you back to next week and you make a bit of money. I'm sure for Mercurial's position, it would be it would feel really, really bad to not come back next week, which is now a realistic possibility, and to not honestly first place from that would also feel really bad. But that's the nature of this format, right? It is very, very volatile with these last 2 games because of the point values being doubled. The lead disappeared, right? Really, because of that. If it was still the same point structure leading into this game, Mercurial would still be in first place by far. But not the case, right? That is just the nature of this format, nature of the beast. Mercurial has to change it around for the 5th game, but there is no 5th game curse. Oop, there is just the 4th game curse.
Just the 4th game curse.
Yeah, you haven't spoken that one into existence yet, at least.
I will never forget saying it for the first time. I prefaced it with, I think I'm making this up, but it is true now. It is very, very true. It happened again to Mercurial. I just think statistically, like the 4th lobby in the amount of time that we've been playing, like how long they've probably been practicing, I feel like it lines up almost perfectly to kind of like where your mental starts to break down a little bit, right? It's like if you're taking a 6-hour long test, lobby 4 is like hour 5, where you're really freaking out that you're not going to know the answers and you're running out of time. Right. And what all you really needed to do was just focus and go with your initial gut instinct the whole time and not even get to hour 5. Right. So that's what I would have liked to see. But everyone else being eligible for a win, except for one person, I think at this point, I think 2 people need a lot of help. But mathematically, only one person, I believe, is eliminated.
That's still very competitive. 7 players having the chance to get a first. These fast games are always, man, it's crazy.
They always, the reason why is because the last game has the most context, right? You're allowed to break the most rules in the last game because you have to do more to potentially win. Because if you go with the status quo, the same result might happen, and that might not be a first place, right? So you're going to be taking a little bit more risks. And that's why I say, watch that Ripple Overdrive game. Right? That is how you do a last lobby. You put it out on the table. You don't want to leave your last opportunity having anything on the table. You want to say, if I had done anything differently, the same thing might have happened, right? But you don't want to say, oh, I wish I'd done this. I probably would have won. Or this was, a silly mistake. I accidentally put an item on so-and-so, right? Which we've seen happen in the last lobby to people who have won lobbies previous that day. So again, anything can happen. It's all about playing clean and taking as much variable out of your play if you're trying to go top 4. But if you're going 1st or 8th, you gotta let it rip, right? You gotta try to get the lawnmower to start on the very first pull.
And that is exactly what Hyperspace is doing this game. With that scouting, got a chance to see Hyperspace taking the Mercart, running Mercenaries. This is making me feel those same feelings from this past weekend. And that Ripple game 6, start to a potential comeback. Hyperspace, like you mentioned, can't get first, but still making it to the top 4 from that position, right? From being so many points behind. 15 points, I think, actually, behind the top four. Needs that first. And needs one of Pivo, Goofy, or Mercurial to go bottom two.
All right, we'll check in on that probably here on stage 4 to see exactly where people are. But this is the 5th lobby out of 5 that we have seen someone go a Malzahar opening. It seems like this 3-cost unit has been popping up in these orbs pretty frequently, as this is an Arcanist push. Mercurial now having the Yordle open, so this is another kind of, hey, let's sack some HP to get some economy that other people aren't going to have. Even though we upgrade here and we get a twin shot, we probably still lose unless we go against a 3-unit team. We shall see, but these items are going to end up being a Morello's at some point, most likely. Yep. Then we'll see the rest of the items as they come.
Actually, hovering over Spark, I wonder if Mercurial is actually considering making Spark and is doing so. Spark Slams, very uncommon. Haven't really seen those since, like, what, set 3, set 4? Maybe. But it's going to make this more likely to be a win, and yeah, with it is going to be a win. I'm not sure it's enough to maintain the streak, though, for Mercurial. Mercurial has played this early game, or the early part of the day, for the first 3 games so well, that I'm inclined to just trust Mercurial, right? Whatever you're doing, it's, worked out besides that little bit of a blip in scores in the last game. But sure, I mean, go for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Man, Ionic, that is a way to try to start win streaking, right? The Lucian and the Corki benefit from the Ionic a lot. I mean, they are twin shots, and twin shots in the past have been, AD based, but not these two. These two are more ultimate/ability based, so they are going to be a lot better for the AP direction. The Spark's going to be really good for that. So this Yordle opening might not actually lose these opening rounds as quickly as you might assume, though this particular comp is going to get 2 of the Ionic Spark going. Ziggs misses the ult, had an opportunity for like the world's best Ziggs ult, but decided against it. Decided to bust some brackets like somewhere earlier today by missing that shot.
Oh man, Ziggs makes me mad. Not many things make me mad.
At this point, it just makes me laugh, man. Like, it's just funny to me. It's actually really good balance. Because if it hit every single time, I think it would be really overpowered.
It would, I mean, it would be tuned, right, with that in mind. I think kind of like early versions of Ziggs, but I mean, yeah, it's just, there's variance, right? There's, what was that phrase in set 1 of TFT? It makes for exciting moments, right? Kind of like with Phantom, it makes exciting moments. Ziggs makes exciting moments if he hits a good bomb or misses a bomb. It's just, I don't really personally buy into it, though.
Not a basketball player. Not a basketball player, that Ziggs.
No, definitely not. Ebo, Battle Mage.
You could be good at shot put. Okay, so we have where you just throw it as far as possible with no inkling on accuracy. That could work. But you're right, we have a Battle Mage comp here, so people in the top 2 rows are going to get extra damage, and we're actually going to keep the Caitlyn in the back. That's totally cool. I mean, the extra damage there is not going to really matter because her auto attacks are not where our damage comes from, and it's going to hopefully help us take down a unit regardless. So the Cassidy gets focused down by 3 people. We already have a Bramble on the Jarvan.
Yep. Brambles are very, very good slam to happen. Mutant. Can we kill a unit? Oh, even with the Battle Mage, even with second rowing, and yeah, Pibos. I don't know what Pibos saying right now, but I'd be really curious to hear. Going on a bit of a loss streak now. Hopefully we'll lose the next round, just to keep that streak going. Another drive, another MF. Some solid pairs here, and can't afford both of them if you sell the Alawi and the Camille. I guess likely that happens. Maybe is keeping the Alawi for potentially running Mercs. It's a bit late to pivot into Mercs right now, though, so probably not.
Giving the thumbs up.
Everything is A-OK from Peebo.
Yeah, everything's A-OK. Yeah.
Oh, that was a stage 2 Draven. Everything is not A-OK. Abort. I repeat, abort. Not A-OK.
Abort, no. This comp is actually going to be at least taking down a unit. That's better than the last time. That is a very good Misfortune ult to help us get 2 more down. Bramble, pretty good. It seems like Ezreal just in general awful against that item. And that's going to be a 3-unit win coming from a 4 or 5-unit loss from that last round.
Yep. Well, with that, can keep the Alawi and keep the MF, still make 20. No streak though, so it's going to be hurting a bit in the long run. Hypnoticus has done a good job all night at win streaking stage 2, and usually translating them into solid finishes. Lumikev is our Draven player. 2 Debonair only, doesn't have a Syndra. Is able to make 40 gold though. This is a really, really nice opener. Even without streaking into the Krugs, making 40 at this point. Very nice, and partially that is done because of the augment, giving a bit of extra econ.
Everyone loves a good amount of economy, right? In this economy,
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we potentially got a Last Whisper now. This wasn't a bad pull for the Draven. We even have a Shiv if we wanted to happen. Shiv, a good item in general. If you have the item and it's before stage 3-2, I think that's okay to put on at any point in the early game. Will maintain value in the late game, especially if you have a high auto attack speed unit to do it, or if you put it on someone like Seraphine, because it also has a tier. So it can help get to that first ultimate a little bit faster. Curious to see if we add the Last Whisper to this Draven right now. We won that last round, so we could potentially greed, because we're very early for one Draven, let alone one with items.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna be greeting out these items, it looks like. 50 gold, not bad. Oh, Hodge. Okay, we see a Draven with the Hodge earlier as well, actually. Giant Slayer, if that's the third item. And I think this is a, fairly well built Draven. He doesn't really need any other third item. Rageblade and Giant Slayer are already a solid first two.
And we know there's a Bramble, and so let's avoid the IE, right?
Yep.
And that is happening here with the Giant Slayer and the Hodge. The Draven gonna get stopped up. Sunfire Cape, making sure the Hodge not gonna help at all, as little as it was already helping there. We get another. Oh man, these are some big losses coming through for some of our boards.
Definitely some big losses. That's why players like Hyperspace down at 54. But they're running Mercs. Moving over to Goofy for now. This is rolling pretty deep on level 6 here, trying to find something. Trying to find a Warwick upgrade. Or actually a third Debonair.
Also, unfortunately, this is one of those things you have to call out. We did have someone lose to Krugs. You're going to have to figure out who it is, your own. But to help you go along, that even the best players in the world can lose to Krugs. So next time you do it, don't feel bad, folks. The other day, I actually lost the first 2 PvE rounds in the game because I was watching a YouTube video and forgot I loaded in. And I ended up winning the lobby. So anything can happen.
Losing to Krugs. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's like you lost to the last Krug, you already got all the loot you were gonna get, and it's only like a 2 HP difference, right? Copium, that's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine, I'm sure. But it still is very, very telling of how strong your board actually is, and how strong you need to make it in the next stage. As we move into this second augment choice, Bodyguard Heart, Sand United or Weak Spot. Sand United is probably the safe option here. Get some handshakes going, get some extra AP, AD, very nice.
Everyone likes teamwork. I was gonna belabor on this a little bit actually. So I agree with you, but I think weak spot for how we're going through this comp right now might end up getting a little bit more value, because look who has the items right now. It might be a Talon reroll, or potentially an assassin, or something that's gonna need that kind of armor mitigation to help out with. So this is how you get a reroll Talon to last a couple more rounds, or even this Twitch to last a couple more rounds because of the weak spot. With the sell on the Irelia, it does seem like we are going to be moving more into this direction.
I'd be very surprised from this spot if it is a reroll Talon. The items not really there, as well as I mean VIP Talon, it'll be dealing true damage, right? That's going to be, and magic, it's going to be a lot of just true damage. It's going to be a lot of the damage there, so you don't really need the weak spot for that. For Draven, of course, very good if we pivot into that and still want to go VIP. Just I don't know, a little bit of weird spot in my opinion at least, but hopefully hopefully for Goofy it does work out. I think the potential is there. And so close in killing all the units there, but living on a slivers of HP.
The thing is if it was going to work out, it was against this comp.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not good.
No.
that information is one you would end a medical study on, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably are a little worried. We need items. Items help weak spot a lot too. But man, against that particular comp with just the chain vest on the Alistar, weak spot should have been good enough for that.
Wait, this is okay. Hyperspace running mercs, but also had featherweights. I didn't get a chance to see what those on the board. I think it was a Talon. Because they're running 3 Debonaires. I don't think I've actually ever seen somebody go Mercs into reroll Talon before. They are rolling it all the way down to level 6 to about 0 gold. What a... Oh boy, okay.
Leaving it all on the table, my friends. Risking it for the biscuit. Leap! And the net will appear. All colloquialisms for take a risk, it might pay off. But I don't know if the net's going to appear here. We might fall directly down to the river a la Wile E. Coyote here for this particular comp.
Yeah.
7 loss streak, only 13 gold, so we don't even have a ton of room to make this comp better, and this is where you're going to really start pushing for a win. Talon 2 is really nice to have. Hextech Gunblade on Talon, I know, super weird, but is probably outside of Malzahar one of the best users for it, but this isn't even close, even with the Hextech Gunblade.
I feel like, I think it's actually a pretty bad analogy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel it's like you're trying to leap for the net, but then halfway through your leap, you just wake up and realize you were dreaming, and there's just no chance that you can actually do that at all. It's just like, I don't think there's a shot that this works out. Even if you cash out, right? You're only 3 merc. I'm pretty sure hyperspace, won round 2-1, so it's gonna be behind in terms of the loss streak here, and the amount of what he's actually able to get from the cash out. The only thing that it can do is repair the economy, maybe get some more components, but that economy is gonna be no guarantee to making it to Talon 3. Gonna be no guarantee to making this board actually strong. The Echo 2, which you've already invested a lot of gold into, has to sit on the bench until we can get this Merc cash out. Stuck in Merc jail. Draven's 1v1ing this Talon, is not able to do it, however. So this could be time. It could be the potential for Hyperspace to realize that he's actually not dreaming. But we'll see what the Merc cash out gives. That's going to be very, very telling.
Man, though a lot of these cash outs, like I have said, have been overwhelmingly disappointing. 17 gold. They've been very gold heavy. We'll see if this is going to matter here. 32 HP. We get a Nikos and gold. More gold. A tome and more gold. See what I mean? Right? We do get some direction here. At least we have the Nikos and the tome. Probably would have waited around for the tome just in case because of my superstitions.
Man, I gotta
go for it. Just say it.
All right. From the spot,
we got more value.
One Nikos is literally all we got. Is 1 Nikos and I guess a scrap emblem out of the cost of like 50 HP.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure Wolves gave us more value than our Merc cash out just then.
Get Debonair at least. 5 Debonair online. Echo Debonair.
These are okay items.
Talon is good. Yeah, the items are good.
But that wasn't from the cash out, so you can't really talk about it.
No, not really. We're still behind in economy. 4 Talons, 32 HP. Unless Hyperspace pulls, like, remember when Jose Diodo playing Nocturne rolled it down on 4-1 to 0 every time and somehow just hit? Like, just hit, like, 7 Nocturnes in, like, 3 shops, it felt like.
Yeah,
unless Hyperspace has that kind of luck, I think it's doomed.
He got 7 Nocturnes and 30 gold, I believe, was how it went, which is insane. That's only like a couple rolls, but we do win out that round. That was expected, but it really is how much stronger is the Merc player after cash out versus the rest of the lobby. And I'm not sure we actually win against everyone in this lobby.
No.
But Goofy's actually...
VIP's area on 7. Sorry, I'm just...
I mean, and that's fine because our Talon player would have loved this area. Right? So, like,
Oh.
literally, it is just not working out. We're going to have to do it through the gold, and you can push an advantage through gold. I forget exactly who we saw do that, but there was a player last weekend who got like a 60 gold pet cash out, and that was pretty much it. And I was able to push that into a lobby win because of just playing conservatively, gathering that context, and then finalizing that team comp when they were ready. The Zeri doesn't last that long, but we'll be
No.
seeing that Zeri more often here pretty soon.
What's with seeing VIP Zeris on 7? Seeing it one time in a day? Yeah, that's high roll. Seeing it 2 times in a day? What's going on? Goofy does take a big loss, though, because Talon is positioned perfectly there. Good for hyperspace. Goofy, now really low. Still need some more items as well. I think this Talon bow, or excuse me, rod needs to be moved over soon. Leona 1 is really rough. The front line's not going to be there to allow Zeri the time she needs to carry.
The Zeri carry, man, it rhymes for a reason. It's because it's one of the win conditions. We actually have seen this win condition win already, and we have good items on the Zeri. We put her in the corner, which should help out. Sometimes she likes doing the Lucian, wants to give the opponent a hug rather than bullets. We'll see which direction we go this time and see how long we're able to make it, because Tier 1 Zeri, we saw struggle through a lot of the rounds, but a Tier 2 one was able to win the lobby. And now that we've gotten that space and everyone else is ignoring the Zeri up until the Malzahar, thank goodness for that execute. Oh, this is going to be close because of the mutant buff.
Oh, the Jhin!
Jhin is literally one tick away from getting executed.
Yep.
I'm surprised he's not executed, actually.
That is real wild. Syndra lined up the units. Jhin said, I got the shot. Took them both down. That's some good TFT right there.
Yep, don't take Jhin laser tag. He's pretty good at it.
Yep.
We have Goofy now, 32 HP, 29, 23 following that. The middle of the leaderboard is still pretty tight, but we got the top side with Mercurial. Once again, the run back might be happening with Hypnoticus also in second place. Hypnoticus, I believe, has spent every single lobby, the majority of it, in the top 4, but we haven't finished top 2 yet, I believe. So I would love to see the conversion of a top 4 player into a lobby win. Hypnoticus, that's what we want to see from you.
Yep. Lumikev has been struggling, even though this Draven has been here for a very long time. It has not been able to do enough. Finally, we get Draven 2 online. Another Draven, maybe the Draven 3 dream can live on. It has a third item now, Giant Slayer, the most important item for him. Leona gets upgraded. This is a very, very nice stage for level 8 roll down that hopefully allows Lumikev to catch back up in this game, right? Very behind, 23 HP, even below players like Hyperspace and Goofy that were pretty much just hemorrhaging HP for a very, very, very long time.
23 and me maybe going 8th here for Lumikev. Though the Irelia is going to get stuck on the Leona, and this was a good upgrade, good round for Lumi there. And we have Hypnoticus starting to fall. Hypnoticus does sack HP through stage 4. It's all about stage 5 getting to those right units to get right back on top of the totem pole. But as expected, the rest of the lobby is starting to grow towards the middle, as Tiny Titans is always the pick here, isn't it?
Yeah. Give us some more time.
All of a sudden, rockets up to 3rd place because we just got some free HP.
That's so funny. It's not even like we really absolutely needed the other augments as well. I think Thrill was the other option that could have been taken, but Draven doesn't have a Hodge, which is going to be a little bit of healing, right? So Thrill might have been a bit more consistent there, but still. Tiny Titans is going to be the most consistent thing to net us more placements. And yeah, Lumikev looking at the top right, 23 points. Needs more placements. Is currently in 7th place. Needs a good finish here to make it into the top 4 and come back next week.
Needs it, as you said. So if we absolutely want to take over, 2 of those spots have been released already, right? So 2 new people will be coming back next week. Will Lumi be one of those 2, we got Weak Spot and Tiny Titans. So only Weak Spot going to be giving us any stats for the late game. However, HP, while in the early game, one of the best stats, in the mid game can be pretty weak. In the late game, it becomes important again. But it's going to be Draven with this Hodge versus 3 members on the other side. And the Victor, one of the few units that once the cast goes off, even if you kill the unit, the cast will complete. And Lumi falls because of it.
17k damage Draven almost. Wasn't enough. Zach CC. I put the nail in the coffin there at the end of the fight. Otherwise, Draven would have won. But unfortunate. We'd like to see Lumi Kev from this point after hitting the Draven 2. Start win streaking consistently. Moving over to Mercurial. This is a board that's 61 HP. I mean, this Vex is really stacked, right? This Vex is super good. Lucian even only has the 1.5 items, able to do a lot of damage. And rolling for a bunch of 3-stars here, Boop. Or 3-star reroll compositions.
They've been pretty good so far today. The twin shots actually have been the comp of the night. Every single time we've seen it, it's gotten top 2 or top 3, or even won the lobby. Remember, we had that the 2's twin shot there, as we have to make some space on the board. Oh, this is the worst, man. This is literally the worst.
Nar comes back and
oh no.
Okay, finally. Bench space. that was painful. I hated that. I hated that.
That's called wasting opportunity. And it wasn't even our fault, really. I mean, we had all the Corkies. The Corkies part of this comp, right? You can't blame them. But we might have like 4 extra gangplanks at this point if we had space there.
Yep, would have had like another Nard 2 as well. Would have, I mean, just want to not think about the missed opportunity there, because there was just so much of it.
There's so much opportunity.
Yeah, that we just don't have anymore. Mercurial gave up on the Gnar as well. That could have been really, really good. Mercurial's not even in a safe spot anymore after bottoming out that last game. Really needs to, again, another player that has to finish strong to maintain being in the top 4. Could maybe get away with a 4th or a 5th at, best. Or I guess at worst. Buying more Gnars. Trying to roll more. Hey, another Gnar. Could have been like 1 Gnar away right now. I mean, let's just say they were the same Gnar as Copium, and it's fine.
Gnar Copium. Man, you've inhaled a lot of Copium today.
I think I just, there's some like Twitch emotes and like phrases that get stuck in my head, and they work in so many situations that I can't help it. It's just like, you gotta believe sometimes. Like, even before the word copium was popular, people like were feeling a lot of copium, right? They didn't call it that.
Hey, look, Woodland Charm, you got to see it. So Woodland Charm has been chosen for this particular augment. I believe this is the first time we've seen it here on Fight Night. It's the HP for Woodland Charm is just so low that you normally don't see it. This is going to be the twin shots taking the dub here. Double Jeweled Gauntlet and Morello's. Tier 3 Syndra. That's the second time we've seen the Tier 3 Syndra almost beat the Draven Hypnoticus once again, spending a lot of time in the top 4 and then doing probably the fastest nosedive so far today. Mercurial gets the Gnar 2, the second Gnar 2, and the second Lucian 2, as well as we move over to Yippee Maokai, 15 HP and not much hope. We do have an Ahri with items.
She does have items. They are items that you can build in the game of Teamfight Tactics and place on your Ahri, yes.
And is this going to be enough? The longer the round, the better for Ahri, but this isn't ever going to be pushing the same amount of damage as a Rabadon's or a Giant Slayer or a Jeweled Gauntlet. But hey, the first orb hits the Lucian, no problem.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and the second one, he hasn't moved yet. Moves out of the way of the orb. The Ahri might actually have done enough already at this point. We take down the Titans there. It's going to be this Lucian needing to pull up a little bit more weight, and with the support with the Orianna, the Enchanters helping a lot here, along with the Bramble on the Vex. So, I mean, you don't really see it all that often, but the Enchanter buff really helping out there against the Lucian and Corki to get us like a 4-unit win there.
Yep. Goofy going 8th, unfortunately, in this final lobby. Hyperspace, next person on the chopping block, 5 HP. Yimao Kaye, stabilizes, if you can call it that, at least for now. This Ahri, though, I'm still very skeptical of. I think even though that matchup was, good, it's because Mercurial has fallen off very hard. The Lucian items are really lackluster. Running double Jugal at anyone feels pretty bad. Hopefully can still make it work, though. Mercurial 38, or excuse me, Yippee Maokaye 38 points, currently in first place. Needs to get, I would say, maybe like a fifth is, I don't even know if I want to say safe to top 4 on the night with, because a lot of people are so close.
All right, this twin shot comp just got a lot stronger, but how much stronger did we get with a double jeweled gauntlet, Lucian? That's that is like not a lot of like straight up AP damage. You absolutely need the crit. Yeah, it's like a double bonus on the crit, but when you don't have the initial damage to help, it's kind of just like a net, it's just like having an IEJG.
Imagine if you still don't crit as well. That'd be like the times where you don't crit, it's so bad.
Exactly, and not enough damage. I mean, at that point, the damage just came way too slowly. The Tom Kench gonna be eaten for dinner. Sir Thomas gonna try to help out here. The Silco not going to be killing our own team there. Peebo surviving. Mercurial falling as well. Maybe the curse is a little bit hung over here into the 5th lobby, as Peebo is going to be on fire. Hyperspace does fall. Doesn't get last, though, as we lost to Krugs.
Losing to Krugs, being in a really unoptimal Merc spot, not going 8th, that's pretty much a win, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say
I
so.
feel good about that setup.
I forget, there was someone who got like a miracle 7th last weekend, and I was so proud of them.
Yeah.
I forget who it was, but they did not deserve anything over an 8th, and they got a 7th, and you got to be happy about that. Sometimes that's the best placement you can ask for with how your items worked out, and how your units are going to be utilized with your augments, for example. This Lucian needs to stop saying hello so closely to its opponents. It's the 2nd round in a row that's happened, and that's the 2nd round in a row that they have lost. Mercurial now losing as well, and top HP now at 48. That's about 20 more than 2nd. Everyone else 27-6.
Lucian apparently just a big fan of Draven. Won his autograph maybe, but Draven just gave him an axe instead. Unfortunate. Have to rethink that approach next time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it a little bit differently. Make sure to check the wind speed.
Yeah.
The wind shear. The Gargoyle Stone Plate now is probably going to go on the Leona, since the Vex is all full up. And that is unfortunate, because unfortunately, like, we're at max damage outside of the Seraphine needing to be Seraphine 2. And the double jewel gauntlet Morillas would be better on Seraphine, most likely. But that's just not going to happen here. Arcana Spat probably going to be moving on over. Gargoyle Stone Plate actually hits the Braum, and we do get the Seraphine 2.
All right,
that's a pretty good upgrade.
Yeah, Arcanist Seraphine can come through as well. We get GP2. This is pretty much as strong as this board's gonna get. Corki. So I completely blanked out on Corki. Having items being tier 3.
Yeah, it has
going to get that Arcanist emblem.
Yep. One of the greatest users of that emblem. The Hextech Gunblade should be helping out the Lucian. And now we have some secondary healing and utility from the Senna and the Seraphine. Now, Lucian jumps forward once again, decides to eat a snow cone, and then Ahri takes him down. Only when you don't need it to happen does Ahri end up being a master level player on the Convergence, and that was one of those times. Mercurial, though, ends up taking down 1 unit, which was enough there to survive this round. 4 of the top 6 in single-digit HP.
What's Mercurial rolling for? Rolling for fun? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a zombie roll.
Zombie rolling is real. A lot of players on single-digit HP right now. Mercurial on 1. Lumikev on 2. Yippee on 6. Malekith on 9. All players in danger here. Even Peebo in danger as well, but is win streaking. Oh man. Harukawa, look at this board. It's so strong. 5 innovators now as well. Definitely gonna be winning against Yippee Maokaye here. There's no doubt about it. Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, that's too much damage and CC. Whew, that Ari. I mean, in the last round, looks like a Masters level player, right? But in this round is going to fall.
Ooh,
That is a
triple
triple
eliminations.
elimination. You don't see that every day. As Yippee Maokaye is in 6th. Hypnoticus is going to be in 5th. Peebo finishing in the top 4. Mercurial, 1 HP. Leo, 1 HP. And then we've got Harukawa most definitely having the strongest comp right now at 48 and on fire. Probably our best version of like a Flexivator comp that we've had. Draven being the carry here. We had a nice spat to go on the Senna as well, but this is a pretty good Clockwork Innovator comp. We also have the triple Socialite, so lots of damage coming in through this comp, along with Binary Airdrop too. So the stats aren't even finished here.
Yeah, no, this is really, really good. Everything that's happening on Harukawa's board right now, and is going to be taking out Mercurial for sure in this round. Can Lumi Kev win? Yes, he does. So we get at least one more round, Boop. Harukawa's board. I'm having a hard time thinking of a way that this could be dealt with. Both players are level 9. Lumi Kev grabs a Challenger emblem. Burden's definitely on Lumi Kev to come back here, but oh, Jinx too? Okay, why don't we?
Why not? It's a nice... it's like, you know those statues, those like super really nice statues you can buy that are like custom painted? I think that's what we just got on the bench here.
Pretty much,
on that Jinx. We can binary now. The Seraphine, we put the Jinx in, so we're going to help with scrap as well. We don't have an item for the Jinx, but that's okay. This comp is still incredibly strong. I didn't really see a ton of upgrades for Lumi. Challenger Zeri. Actually, the other side has gotten moderately strong too. We got the Jace too, but the Draven has already taken Jace down. I love Giant Slayer, Khroen. I love it.
It's such a good item. Such a good item. Can it happen? Can it work? The Draven is hanging on, actually. Wait, Draven? He does it!
By the hair on my chinny chin, says Draven. And unfortunately for Harukawa, we actually lose out, and any extra round given to Leo right now is extra time to get stronger. And Harukawa, just like we saw earlier with Hypnoticus, I believe, or Yippee Maokaye, rolling for nothing, right? We could get a more tier 5 cost units. We have an Ezreal 1, I guess, on the board, but everything here pretty maxed out.
There we go. Jace goes in over the Ezreal. Don't need the Ezreal scrap anymore as well because Jinx is in there. Can Lumi Kev do it again? Can this Draven do the near impossible? Supported by the Zeri as well, though. She's in the backline. Challenger. She procs her ultimate. Is going to be dashing around. However, these hits are not going to be enough, and now is going to be Harukawa closing out the lobby, taking down Lumi Kev, and getting that first place.
Was that enough? Imperial definitely not hitting that record. Came in with a perfect score, leaving with 2 bot 4s, I think, for the final. Mercurial, man, had the opportunity to absolutely suffocate the rest of the lobby, but that did not happen. In terms of final scores, I actually have no idea where we're going to end up, as last 2 lobbies really flipped itself on its head.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be inclined to think that Harukawa with that might be first, but yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. The scores are ready. It is indeed going to be Harukawa Maki. They were in close contention moving into that game, and with that first place does secure it. Mercurial earning 2nd place with 48 points. Peebo in 3rd place with 46, and running on our top 4 is Yippee Maokaye, returning next week yet again.
Yeah, so the only person returning from our top 4 last week, Mercurial, does finish in 2nd place. Did get that 3rd, apologies, friends, but was not enough. Maki getting the 2 top 4s in Game 4 and Game 5, and while Mercurial has 10, and 14, it still isn't enough, because when points are doubled, those low placements are even harder to overcome. So 4 points was enough. We actually lose by 4 total points there. So literally 1 spot higher, or 2 spots higher in that game, we win for the night.
Ah, man. So much variance happens in these final 2 games. It's always so crazy. It is nice, I want to say, seeing Pivo back on the fight nights. Always a treat. And even though we don't get to see like that crazy, style of play that's, always just make sure to impact the lobby, still just get to see them in general. But that's not the focus. The focus is going to be on our winner, Harukawa Maki, here for the interview. How you doing? Congratulations.
Hey, hey, sorry, I can't be very loud right now. I don't want
It
to
is
wake anyone up,
all good.
but I am shaking.
Yeah, that was
Oh
a
man.
super intense final game. I mean, yeah, walk us through it from your point of view, right? How are you feeling about that? Did you expect going to that game, to be able to close it out like that?
Um, I the okay, so I think it was on the chickens neutral round. The moment I dropped two bows, I was like, this game is doomed. Like, cause I already slammed Chalice from way earlier. Oh, shout out to my friend Asian Gucci Squad, by the way. So
Oh, I
yesterday,
know Agent Gucci Spot.
yeah, he was here 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yesterday, I was downloading his Oriana Seraphine, the Chalice stuff for the entire day. That's why you were seeing me playing that for the first two
Yeah.
games. Worked out pretty well. And then I was trying to do that in this game as well, but then two bows dropped. And then it's like, it's doomed. And then I don't know. I had a chosen Draven. Oh, it doesn't matter if it's chosen or not, but it ended up pretty well. I guess for Clockwork with Draven's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a really insane late game board, and if that wasn't your plan moving into it, even that much more impressive. But I want to take a step back from just from that game and this tournament, and just ask you a more general question just about TFT. Like we've seen you now in a couple of weeks of Fight Night, and just what are your plans with TFT? How'd you get into it, and where do you want to go? Do you want to keep competing? Do you want to be able to reach the upper echelon? And kind of what's your goal for moving forward and the rest of set 6 into set 7?
I think my plan's always been like, as try to be as good as I can be at this game. As for how I started, I was just playing with a bunch of friends and back in set one when it just launched, and then I guess I got good at it. So I was like, why not try climbing higher?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think it was Zonka where it placed 33rd overall. Um, I felt that, yeah, that actually motivated me a lot. Just like performing in tournaments in general. I'm not that much of a ladder player, I guess. It's because like
Mm-hmm.
my play style, I just I limit test a lot. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a
Okay,
lot
I,
of times
I
I
sympathize with
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just play like a lot of different things. So my LP probably never gets all that high, but thankfully, my goal is just, play some in tournaments. It's been going pretty well, I guess.
So my follow-up to that is, are you more motivated by failure or success? Does a win like tonight motivate you even more, or did a 33rd place kind of motivate you more? What kind of like brings you over the finish line?
Oh, it was definitely the 33rd. 'Cause I was 1 point away. Yeah, I was 1 point away from kicking out Robin. And that guy,
Oh.
that guy won Song Cup.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Mm-hmm.
true. Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, yeah, I think you described a lot of what I was going to ask earlier, but another softball question from me. What's your name mean? Where'd you get
my
Haru
name?
Kawamaki?
Oh, I stole a name from some anime girl.
Lulu?
And like it's cringe, but I
You
got pretty high on ladders, so I might as well stick with it.
you got to represent at that point in time in today's day and age, right? Just represent whatever your interests are.
That's what I'm
You like
saying.
anime, do it. Yeah, Haru Kawamaki, whatever,
I love it.
right? Let's name it. I don't care, Khroen. I think that's a great place for me to pass.
I don't know how to follow up on that one, but let's try to. Regardless, Harakawa, you've had a great victory this week, and give you the floor to give any shout outs that you want to. Already gave one earlier, but for other people, or if you stream and things like that, where can we find you on social media?
Um, I'm not that much of a streamer, but sometimes I stream to my friends and have them backseat me. My stream is Makiro TFT. Uh, you guys probably saw me in chat earlier, but
Yep.
other than Asian Gucci Squad, I also want to shout out the boys. It's Dino Dan, Clutch and Penguins, DK. Um, it's basically the group I've been playing, TFT with for the past year or so. So, like, they're also a really big part of what's motivating me to play TFT.
Yeah.
Also, additional from that, shout out to Spicy Appies. The first time I played in Fight Night, I sent Spicy Appies some channel points so he can give me some tips. And he's just like, you want to roll, more aggressively, and I did none of that. I just fortuitous Soju style and then played Seraphine Oriana.
That's okay. It worked out regardless. So, some good stuff, Harukawa. Congratulations on your win. And we'll see you here next week. Good luck and have a good night.
Yep, bye-bye. You too.
All right. There we have it, Boop. Some great insight there, I think. The name as well. Why not? If it's your favorite, favorite anime character, might as well represent, right? It's not the answer I was expecting, but it's the answer we got. It's a valid one.
So, like, I thought I knew where the name was from, and I'm pretty sure I got it now. A great game. I don't think it's a show, but a great game. Very popular on a particular platform on the computer. But don't hate. I mean, I believe if it's the game that I'm thinking of, very, very good game. So no shame at all. But also congratulations. You got to rep some anime on a final interview, and no one has flexed like that. So
that's true. That's a first. We get more firsts.
Some anime flex, because I'm not an anime fan, but
you're screwing up, Boob. You're screwing up not to go watch some anime
So
later.
in a dream I had the other day, I was watching anime for some reason, and I don't even know what it was. And that's kind of like me being like, maybe I should engage. Chat, tell me what I should watch.
You should. I can hit you up with some recommendations as well. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So I like magic and I like superpowers. So just if you have Rex, let me know.
Noted. Get the anime representation, winning Fight Night Rising. So that must mean that you have to delve into the anime world, Boop. We're going to make it happen. But I just want to, move in a bit back into just the TFT space, get your thoughts overall on the evening, on the interview as well, other stuff that we thought, because I think, at least for me, one point that really stuck out was the fact of getting 33rd in Zon Cup being super motivating. You got a feel for that, right? Being 1 point off of knocking out Robin, who went on to win Zon Cup. Like, we see the motivation there when Harumaki comes into this event and goes to win, right? It's just, you got to root for that at this point.
I totally agree, right? I love, man, I just love TFT. I love the people here, the community, and it just goes to show that you can come in here and make something happen, and I guarantee you, we're all going to remember, our copy Maki now, and it is for good reason too. Now you've established that you're going to come back, and if you do it again, then you can just tell us what your second favorite character is. But
We'll go on the list.
Just change your name every single week like Claude did, or Peebo, right? But again, this is all coming together into like a really great night, great interview, great person, and of course, great production and great codecaster.
Thank you, Boop. You really just know how to end off the night on such a good note. So I'll take that energy. And you pivoted back to Draven. I didn't even notice when that happened.
It was green. It was green. I wanted to be all green.
That is true. The green still is thematic, and I'm still getting a little bit of that adjacent cheer there. But wonderful night, wonderful games. Congrats once again to Harukawa Maki for winning. The name stumbles me up, but maybe I have to go play the game. Either way, thank you all for watching. This has been Khroen and Boop, bringing you Fight Night Rising. Take care. Have a good rest of your night.